We'll convene our session in about 5 minutes. Two minutes. We'll start in 2 minutes. Thank you all for being here. Standing room only. I'll call to order the regular council meeting of March 25th, 2025. First item on the agenda is a call to order.
Apologies, Mayor. Mayor Scott Anderson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bobby Buckley.
Here.
Councilmember Chuck Bongiovanni.
I am here.
Councilmember Kenny Buckland.
Here.
Councilmember Young Kaprowski. Here. Councilmember Monty Lyons.
Here.
And Councilmember Jim Torgerson. Here. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Our invocation this evening will be by Pastor Magdalena Schwartz of Community Vineyard Church. Pastor, are you here? No? In that case, I will give the invocation. Thank you. Our Father in heaven, we are indeed grateful to be together this evening. We're thankful for the influence that thou dost have upon the public business that must be carried out here. We ask that thy Spirit will be here with us, that we will appreciate those things which bless the lives of others, and that we will be mindful of the needy and those who look for our help. We are thankful for those who serve the community and for all that they do. Please bless them. Be with us this evening, that our decisions will be those that will be in the best interest of this community, this beautiful community. Again, we are thankful to be together this evening. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by Councilmember Lyons.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Our presentations and proclamations this evening will start with a proclamation declaring March 29, 2025 as Gilbert's Vietnam War Veterans Day, and I believe Councilmember Lyons is leading this down there.
Whereas 52 years ago, on the 29th of March, 1973, the last 2,500 American troops were withdrawn from South Vietnam, ending military involvement in what is now the longest war in our country's history. And whereas due to the turbulent cultural climate of the era and the unpopularity of the 11-year conflict, many of the returning veterans did not receive the respect and gratitude they richly deserved for serving their nation so aptly and honorably. And whereas more than 600 men and women from the great state of Arizona made the ultimate sacrifice in the defense of their country during the war. And whereas the spirit of pride and gratitude, it is a time to honor the heroic accomplishments of the 58,000 servicemen and women whose names are listed and etched on the Vietnam War Memorial. And whereas the 2008 National Defense Authorization Act authorized the United States Secretary of Defense to conduct a program to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War and provide that the Secretary shall coordinate, support, and facilitate other programs and organizations in commemoration of the Vietnam War. And whereas the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, Governor George W.P. Hunt Chapter, is a commemorative partner of the United States of America Vietnam War commemoration. And whereas the town of Gilbert desires to pay solemn tribute to our Vietnam veterans, I therefore, Monty Lyons, representing Mayor Scott Anderson and the rest of the Gilbert Council, do hereby proclaim March 29th as the town of Gilbert of Arizona Vietnam War Memorial Day.
Let's get a photo.
members of our Veterans Advisory Board want to come up as well, we'd love to get a photo with you.
Oh, yes. Yes, Mr. Lyons, on behalf of the Gilbert chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the George W.P. Hunt chapter, we want to thank you for this proclamation and have you know that this is our honor to take care of remembering our veterans from the Vietnam era, and we thank you again.
Very welcome. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Karen from Parks? Taryn. There she is. Does she have the proclamation? Do I?
It's just a recognition. You can just hand it over to her.
Come on up here. I'll give you your own mic. How's that?
That's fancy. I like that.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Anderson, council members, and everyone in attendance. My name is Taryn Cantrell, and I am honored to serve my community as the Town of Gilbert Adaptive Recreation Coordinator. Today, we shine a spotlight on the outstanding athletes and coaches of the Gilbert Parks and Recreation Special Olympics program. It is an honor to recognize the incredible individuals who represent Gilbert with skill, spirit, and sportsmanship. Throughout the year, Gilbert Parks and Recreation competes in Special Olympics sports such as basketball, cheer, bowling, bocce ball, topgolf, and even ukulele. I'd like to begin with a heartfelt round of applause for the Gilbert Wildcats basketball team, basketball skills team, and cheer team. These athletes embody perseverance, teamwork, and passion, whether they're dribbling down the court, perfecting their shooting techniques, or energizing the crowd with exciting cheers. Our basketball and cheer athletes have demonstrated incredible dedication, attending weekly practices since October to prepare for the Special Olympics Four Peaks competition in February and the state basketball and cheer competition in March. On March 7th and 8th, they showcased their hard work and talent at the Special Olympics Arizona State competition. We are thrilled to celebrate our cheer team's outstanding achievement of a gold medal victory in their division and our basketball team's remarkable fourth place finish in theirs. With over 160 basketball teams, 15 cheer teams, and 100 basketball skills athletes from across Arizona participating that weekend, we couldn't be more proud of our athletes and their extraordinary accomplishments. I'd also like to acknowledge our exceptional coaches who dedicate their time and expertise to nurturing and empowering our athletes. Their guidance goes far beyond the game. It shapes character, fosters confidence, and creates a sense of community. Mackenzie Cox, Trevin Balzer, Darren Hilligoss, Nikki Moreira, and Jessica Falatin, thank you for your unwavering support and commitment. I would also like to extend our deepest gratitude to the parents and families of our athletes. Your love, encouragement, and support plays a pivotal role in our programs. Whether you're cheering from the stands, ensuring athletes make it to practices and games, or simply being their biggest fans, you are also an important member of the team. Thank you. To our athletes who are coming up now, To our athletes, you inspire us every day with your unwavering dedication and passion for the game. Greatness is not solely measured by your amazing talents, but by the heart, determination, and camaraderie you bring to every moment. You are true champions in every sense of the word, and Gilbert takes immense pride in celebrating your achievements and calling you a Gilbert Wildcat. On behalf of the Town Council and our community, we celebrate your achievements, honor your hard work, and cheer you on in all your future endeavors. Thank you for being true ambassadors of inclusion, determination, and joy. Gilbert is better because of you. Go Wildcats!
Thank you. We'll give them a chance to move on out. Yep. I hope that all of you had the opportunity this year to participate in the Light the World giving machines that were down in the Heritage District. This is a special time when we find out what the giving was and how much Gilbert is serving virtually the entire world in some way or another. And I want to get right to it and invite Dave Merced, who is our city lead for the Light the World giving machine this year. And I'll ask Dave to introduce everybody who'd like to come up, and we'll present to various organizations the results from Light the World giving machines.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson, and thank you, Council. It's wonderful to be here with each of you. My name is Dave Merced, and I had the opportunity to serve as a Light the World Committee lead over the 2024 East Valley Giving Machines. And we are excited to have with us tonight the wonderful charities. We have 6 charities that participated with us in this year's East Valley Giving Machines. The Giving Machines provide a way for our community to come together during the holiday season and celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ in a unique way. The work done each day by these charities embodies the verse in Matthew where Jesus says, "As you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me." We also want to sincerely thank our East Valley community for coming out to visit the Giving Machines and donate to the charities. Each donation at the Giving Machines represents an act of love and compassion for our friends in need, as well as a gift for Jesus. This year, visitors to the Giving Machines could choose items provided by 6 East Valley organizations, such as hygiene kits, sleeping gear, children's books, household supplies, a week of groceries, infant care kits, and even therapy sessions supporting at-risk children and teens, exploited and trafficked women, and communities struggling with food security and or homelessness. I want to show a short video of some footage here in the Gilbert East Valley at the Giving Machines down near the water tower here.
It's very festive if you want to hum along.
Imagine a good holiday song in your mind at this time. Look at the expressions on individuals' faces. This is my favorite part, is seeing people excited to give, to love others, to serve one another, and to come together as a community. What a great gathering and secure place to come and during this holiday season. So the ambiance and the feeling is there, so we hope you have a chance to come out this year when we start up around Thanksgiving. Here are the numbers. We had 6 local charities, over 25,000 items were purchased, close to $700,000 were donated to these 6 local charities, and over $16 million have been donated worldwide with these machines. These giving machines continue to grow and progress across the globe. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints covers all operating costs for the giving machines, ensuring that 100% of every donation goes to the designated nonprofits. This endeavor would not be possible without the collaboration and support from the town of Gilbert and the Health Center Theater. We want to express our deep appreciation for the support we have received from the town of Gilbert in the neighboring cities and towns in the East Valley. And we also want to express our appreciation for the Detland family that owned the Health Center Theater in downtown Gilbert. They were wonderful to work with, and their hospitality was very generous, and we're grateful for them. And now, without further ado, we would like to present the checks to each charity. I would like to invite the Eris Foundation to join us on the floor right now. So if you want to come forward, we have your check for you. And Elder Lewis, if you'd like to come up too. So the Eris Foundation believes there is no way to escape homelessness. There is no one way to escape homelessness. Corrected. Yeah, sure, right here. There's no one way. Let me make that clear. In addition to feeding 150 to 200 people every Tuesday night, she just got here from that. So she's been outside, and it was hot today, and they smell great. But we're grateful for them. Oh, over here. There we go.
Hold it up. Okay. Run it over my face.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you. You're awesome. You're awesome. Yes, take it home with you. Yes. Cece's Hope Center is next. Please come forward. Cece's Hope Center improves the lives and future of 18 to 30-year-old females who are at risk or are the survivors of human trafficking and sexual exploitation, and bridging the gap in available services and support. Right there? We were with it. We're with you.
Okay.
We'll make it work. There you go.
10 minutes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's awesome. Great experience. Thank you
very much.
Thank you. That's a blessing. Great. Hope so. It's great. Thank you. Kids need to read. Please come forward. By providing thousands of books to children lacking adequate access to reading resources, Kids Need to Read encourages kids to develop the joy of reading and the power of the literate mind. There we go, and we're over here.
Here we go, all right.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay, next, Save the Family. Please come forward. Founded in 1988, Save the Family is one of the East Valley's leading providers of housing and services for more than 600 homeless and families and children each year. They seek to ensure the family's long-term housing and financial stability. Over here. All right. Thank you all. It was great. So fun. Thank you. It was fun to work with you. Awesome. Tempe Community Action Center since 1966. Please come forward. They've dedicated its resources to strengthening families and neighborhoods through initiatives that address the causes and effects of poverty. They focus on food security, health and well-being, housing stability, and economic mobility. Nice. Yeah. All right. Thank you. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you. We're great to work with you. It's awesome. You're welcome. Okay, United Food Bank, please come forward. United Food Bank believes in the power of unity to create food security in our community. Through collaborative efforts, they strive to ensure that no one in our community goes hungry. The 1 Million Meals initiative begins now, right? 1 million meals this summer is what they're trying to do. That's a great thing. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, in addition to our local charities, over $205,000 were also donated to global charities, Church World Service and Right to Play, providing items like live chickens. Those are very popular. We get that quite a bit. Vegetable seeds, soccer balls, and school supplies for impoverished nations around the world. So this continues to grow. We would also like to recognize the invaluable contribution of John Lyons and his crew. We call them the Miracle Moving Crew. Unfortunately, they can't make it here tonight, but they are wonderful. They donated their time, their trucks, their equipment to safely transport the giving machines, not just to the Gilbert location, but to several locations around the state of Arizona. John and his wife are wonderful. We're grateful for them. From the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate them. Now we're going to turn some time over to Elder John Lewis. He's former mayor of Gilbert, president and CEO of Phoenix East Valley Partnership. He currently serves in the church as the Area 70 over the Gilbert and Queen Creek areas, and he will now address us. Thank you.
My favorite mayor.
When the Lewis family arrived in Gilbert in 1985, at the southeast corner, oh, you got to stay here for a minute. At the southeast corner of Gilbert and Elliott, and you'll remember this, was the big, huge sign that said, "Welcome to the hay capital of the world." And I inquired about that, and I learned that over 100 years, it's now been, I think, 120 years ago, the local farmers, any extra hay they had, and in some cases, their hay, they donated to the U.S. Cavalry serving in Europe. Thus, we were known as the hay capital of the world. So, Light the World giving machines. As citizen John Lewis, I have absolutely no authority to do so, but I guess with the mayor standing by my side, if we could put up another big, huge sign at the southeast corner of Gilbert and Elliott, I think it could say, "Welcome to Gilbert, giving capital of the world." Oh, just had to.
Why that's, the reason that is significant is of the top 100 cities in this entire nation, and we're talking about all the big cities, we are ranked 4th in giving and caring for our community. So,
I think maybe the mayor just said we're going to put that sign up. No. To the town council, to town leadership, to the citizens of Gilbert, on behalf of the charities who are just up here and those in the community that are being served, thank you.
thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to our last recognition, which is our community food drive, Gilbert Feeding Families. Very significant event that we also do in the community. And I would ask that anybody in attendance from the food drive, please come up to the front now. As they're all coming up, I might point out that we have 53 participating locations that included 18 schools, 16 businesses, 19 churches, and 2 restaurants. We collected almost 46,000 pounds of food, which is 40% more than last year. We received $25,000 in financial donations, also higher than last year. This provides to 164,878 meals to those in need.
Let's just go ahead and do the photo now, I guess, if you want to stand.
Do the photo?
Yeah.
Hold those for me.
Okay.
All right. Whoops. Okay, and I understand that none of them know who the winners are tonight, so as I announce this will be a complete surprise to them. This special recognition of the Food Drive top performers, they'll be receiving a swag bag and a certificate. Okay. In the category of the top school, Ashland Ranch was the heavyweight hero. £2,220 were collected by Ashland Ranch. The top business, Unison Bank, as a heavyweight hero, contributing 385 pounds. Top restaurant, Spinato's Pizzeria, who raised $5,470. And we have the top 3 overall contributors. Redemption Gilbert contributed 4,576 pounds. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Gilbert Steak, contributed 4,722 pounds. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Highland West Steak contributed 5,984 pounds. Let me just recognize that these efforts that are done by these groups help sustain our 2 food banks and 6 food pantries that are serving Gilbert. And please don't forget to save the date next year for Gilbert Feeding Families. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll now move to the public hearing portion of our meeting. We have items 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I do know that item 6 will be discussed separately. Are there any other items to be discussed? No? Not on the public hearings. If not, I'll open the public hearing on items 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and close the public hearing and entertain a motion on those items. Oh,
Oops. Do you want a motion?
item 10 will also be pulled off for separate consideration. So it's just items 5, 7, 8, and 9.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
It's been moved, and I'll close the public hearing. It's been moved and seconded that we approve those items. All in favor, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item 6, we'll start with a staff presentation. This is a general plan GP 2402 and zoning case Z 2410 Modera Gabriela Point.
Mayor Anderson, members of the council, good evening. The request before you tonight is for the Modera Gabriela Point project, which, as you've already stated, is a general plan amendment and a PAD rezone. The project site is located south of the southeast corner of Higley and Warner Roads, within the northeast corner of the Gateway Character Area. More specifically, it occupies 14.99 acres of a larger commercial parcel at that northeast corner of Higley Road and Alona Drive, and you can see it highlighted on your site there on your screen there. And it's also within that Gabriela Point Commerce Center development, which contains existing multifamily currently under construction that you can see along Warner Road, and future business park zoning, which is about 57 acres in size. So as I've already stated, the request is for a minor general plan amendment on 10.53 acres, and then a PAD rezone for the whole entire project, the whole entire property. So this slide, I'll show you the portion of the site that is proposing the general plan amendment. So the part of the proposal that's for the general plan amendment is the back half of the property, which is about 10.53 acres. The applicant is proposing to change the general plan land use on that back portion only, and you can see it's highlighted in kind of a black, heavier line work there on this exhibit, from regional commercial to residential, 25 dwelling units to up to 50 dwelling units per acre. The remaining 4.26 acres in the front along Higley Road is the commercial portion of the site and will retain its current regional commercial designation. The zoning that is proposed, the applicant is requesting a rezoning on that 10.53 acre site at the rear of the site from regional commercial to multifamily residential high with a planned area development. In addition, the applicant is also proposing to rezone the front 4.46 acres from regional commercial to regional commercial with a PAD overlay. Let's take a closer look at the development plan. As I said, the front 4.46 acres is within the regional commercial district is what they're proposing, and that's along Higley Road. Will feature 3-story mixed-use building, actually a large one. It's basically one building. It's a 3-story building. This building is anticipated to include about 15,000 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor, with residential units on the top 2 floors. We call that, in our land development code, it's basically called a loft unit, which is a permitted use by right in the regional commercial zoning district. They are proposing, oh, let me show you the prettier picture. I forgot I included that here. So you can see the commercial in the front is the pink, the 1 3-story building with commercial on the ground floor and the residential on the top 2 floors. And there's also, they're providing a pedestrian access, which we're not, the location of it's not settled yet, but they want to have a pedestrian bridge above, like, I think it's at the 2nd floor, that would connect the commercial to the multifamily building that's to the east of that red dashed line. The rear 10.59 acres will include 4 4-story residential buildings, 9 garage buildings and surface parking, and parking canopies that you can see in the brown. The development proposes a total of 335 residential units with an average density of 28 dwelling units per acre. Vehicular access will be available from Higley Road, Alona Drive, there's 1 off of Higley, there's 2 off of Alona Drive, and there is 1 off of Martingale Drive, or Martingale Road, excuse me, and through the future commercial development to the north, with surface parking serving both the commercial and residential components. As far as open space is concerned, the site will have a total of 27% common open space in the multifamily portion of the development, which is under the 40% that is required per code. And the regional commercial is 43.47% open space, which is quite a bit above the 15% that's required per code. When you average those two, the commercial and the residential open space together, you get about 31% total open space throughout the whole development. And you can see that on the screen in green. I just wanted to quickly flip through a couple of renderings. Now remember, these are conceptual renderings. Nothing is set in stone yet as far as these renderings are concerned. They will be reviewed as part of the design review process. So I just wanted to show them kind of give you an idea on what the buildings could look like. So this is facing Higley Road. You can see the residential above on the top 2 floors, and then on the ground floor, the commercial. Here's another view of that. And then this is that sky bridge that I showed you a minute ago on the site plan. And then you can kind of see in between the buildings and kind of the relationship between the front building and the residential building to the east. And here's kind of another view of that, of the retail, the back side of that retail building. Okay, as far as staff's concerns, there are 2 major concerns that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. So staff does not support the proposed minor general plan amendment and PAD rezone, and just wanted to highlight 2 of these concerns that have resulted in this conclusion. The first involves the loss of regional commercial land which is in the Santan Freeway corridor area and along Higley Road in this interchange area. According to the General Plan 2020, this site, which is located in the Gateway Character area, is intended for campus-style office and light industrial uses and commercial activities that serve the surrounding neighborhoods and communities, and not more multifamily residential. We prefer the site remain zoned regional commercial to fulfill the vision for this area as established in today's general plan, and evidenced by the existing zoning and the surrounding uses in the area. So as the town nears build-out, land use changes from commercial to residential must be carefully considered and evaluated to ensure responsible and sustainable growth. In the Gateway Character area, development focuses on traditional neighborhoods that integrate commercial, employment, and business park uses. Introducing additional high-density residential development on the subject site would undermine the Gateway Character area's intended character and long-term vision that has been established for many years, disrupting its development framework. Growth must prioritize the town's economic vitality and sustainability to further this vision that has been long established in this area. As a side note, I wanted to note, it's not on the screen in front of you, that 9.5% of land in the town of Gilbert is commercial. Of that, 234 acres is regional commercial zone land. And of that regional commercial zone land, only 1.7% of that land is actually vacant. So the next concern I wanted to discuss with you is the amount of multifamily in the immediate area. There are two nearby multifamily developments. Tuscany, I'll show you this little map. It's kind of a better map that shows it. Tuscany at Gabriella Point, which has 760 units, and it's the large apartment complex kind of to the northeast, right along Warner, which is under construction. That has 760 units. It's basically two apartment complexes in one. And also the Morrison Ranch apartments, which are kind of more like townhouses, but they're still zone multifamily, and that's on the north side of Warner Road, and that's 231 units. So this results in 991 units within a half mile of the subject site, within a half-mile radius. If I show you this map again, I kind of highlighted on the map where the site is, and you can see that dark kind of area right there that it's highlighting. It looks like a little beehive. That shows you the concentration of multifamily in that immediate area, which with this proposal would mean within a half mile of the site there would be 1,300 units of multifamily, creating the highest concentration of such units in the whole entire town of Gilbert outside of Cooley Station Village Center area, which is also highlighted there in that little map I have for you, which has more than that. So unlike Cooley Station, which was intentionally planned for higher residential density in a neo-traditional village center design, this site has been envisioned as an area that is less dense. It is intended to feature traditional single-family development with regional commercial and business park uses near the Santan Freeway. The proposed increase in residential density is inconsistent with this vision that has been established for many, many years. So as far as the deviations that the applicant is proposing, they are proposing only a few deviations. On the eastern boundary, where between residential and commercial uses, the setback is 75 feet. They're proposing 0 feet to provide integration between the commercial and the residential. And then on the residential, and then the landscape setback is going, they want it from, it's required to be 40, and they're proposing 0 so they can have that integration. So same thing on this, the integration between the commercial and the residential on this setback as well for the MFH portion. And then the common area open space, they're requesting the 27% for the MFH portion, but overall they'll have about 31% open space when you combine both commercial and residential together. So as far as public participation is concerned, the applicant held a neighborhood meeting on November 21st. One surrounding resident attended and expressed concerns with the addition of more apartments, the potential traffic concerns or conflicts with ALA, and increasing traffic volumes and impacts to the existing street network. After that neighborhood meeting, we had 5 nearby residents that sent us emails expressing concerns and are opposed to the development, and I believe those emails have been provided in your packet. Yesterday, staff received 7 public comment surveys that were emailed to us, and they were also in opposition of the request. And I have those surveys somewhere. They don't have a lot of information. They basically just state whether or not their name and whether or not they're in support or not. So if you want to see those, I have those with me in hard copy. You want to see those? I'll walk them up real quick. Okay. Thanks, Eva. Thank you, Ava. So that, as a result of everything I just talked about, staff's recommendation is we recommend denial, that you, as a council, deny the general plan amendment for Modera at Gabriela Point. And we also recommend, for reasons set forth in the staff report and everything I've discussed, we move that you recommend that you deny the rezone case for Modera at Gabriela Point. I want to make note really quick before I end my presentation that I want to make you aware of a condition of approval that we received that was sent to us on Friday, and we didn't get it till yesterday. The applicant has proposed an additional condition concerning improvements to the Higley Road and Alona Drive intersection. They have requested as follows, that you add this condition if you deem the application is to be approved. Prior to the issuance of any building permit, the developer shall be responsible for contributing $200,000 toward improvements to the Higley Road and Alona intersection to enhance traffic circulation. Payments shall be made to the town of Gilbert and designated specifically for the aforementioned intersection improvements. So please note that staff has not had time to vet this proposed condition, and while we appreciate the generosity by the applicant, we are highly concerned with this proposal, as we have not been provided with proper documentation or a study showing that this is what improvements would actually cost, and what additional improvements could improve circulation and traffic congestion on Higley Road, which, as you all know, is a very busy roadway. While a CIP project beyond 2028 has been discussed to mitigate traffic concerns along Higley Road, it is unfunded at this time, so I just wanted to let you know that. So given that, and my recommendation, I am open for any questions if you have any. And I believe the applicant, Brennan Ray, is also here, and I am pretty sure he has a presentation he would like to present as well. So thank you very much.
Questions for staff?
Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. So the developer and Brendan Ray had met with some of us showing all this stuff. I expressed at that time, I drive through this almost daily. I watch cars backed up from ALA all the way to and through Warner Road, and oftentimes west to southbound left turners actually stuck in the intersection blocking traffic, because at certain times of day, traffic is just a mess. And so kind of my biggest concern is traffic, which you articulated a concern in there, but they had shown some data. I had asked for data to show what they're seeking, what does that do to to the traffic impacts as compared to what it currently is zoned. They presented some data. I think they showed me a week or two ago. I had asked that to get to staff. My understanding is it did not get to you until today. I'm guessing you've not had time to review that, but it had something to do, and Mr. Ray, you may have that, I don't know, about a large difference in a reduction in traffic from what they're proposing as compared to what it's zoned. I struggle to trust the data, and I wanted you guys to review it, check it, challenge it. I'm guessing that has not been done.
Mayor Anderson, Councilmember Buckland, we have reviewed a traffic impact analysis, and now actually have Susanna Struble here, our town engineer, that can probably answer that question better than me. We have reviewed a TIA for the project, but as far as the additional information that you have received, I don't know if we have received that. But Susanna, I don't know if you have any, if you want to answer that question. She's the expert, not me.
Thank you, Councilmember Anderson and Mayor Anderson and Councilmember Buckland. We received some information today about noon. So we've had absolutely no time to review anything that has been provided at this point in time as it relates to, I think, the question or the information that you had been shared by the development. So,
Councilmember Torgerson.
Sir, my understanding, though, is that residential uses tend to have a lower impact on traffic than commercial uses. Is that generally true?
There is a potential of that, but there can also be a potential the other way as well, depending on what that commercial development is. So on a case-by-case basis, we would look at it based off of exactly how they would lay out the area, and we'd look at it based off of those uses that they're putting in there. It's really hard to say yes or nay, without having true data. So.
Right, but generally, residential is lower, and my concern, not for just them, as anybody. ALA was annexed for whatever reason, and it brought more traffic, and to the point, are we impeding any development? Are we gonna hear the traffic comment on everything? Oh, they wanna put in a Dairy Queen, that's too much traffic, because it's across from ALA. Have they damaged that area for development?
ALA damaged it. I think it definitely has put a challenge on the system for sure in the way that it is structured. So,
A couple of things that were brought up that concern me. One is the percentage of commercial in town. Our goal should be about 10%, and that kind of concerns me if we fall into 9.5%. That's one of my initial concerns. The other is, you mentioned in the report that it seems as though we're saturated with apartments in that area. Do you know the vacancy rates of the ones that are existing?
Mayor Anderson, I do not know the vacancy rates of the ones that are existing now. Actually, those are under construction. So vacancy rate right now they wouldn't have any, but as far as like whether or not they have reservations for future rental applications, I don't know that information. Mm-hmm. But those are all under construction. But no, I don't have any further information on that.
Yeah. I would tend to equate saturation with vacant units, and I don't know that that's the case in virtually any project in town that there's a large vacancy rate. Thank you. Any other questions of the Vice Mayor?
I just wanted to make a comment because of the saturation of the multifamily that is there already. I would think that leaving this as regional commercial, that all of this commercial could very much benefit the apartments and the people living in them, because we need the commercial to support those. And if we add more and take away the commercial, then we could end up being in a position where we don't have the commercial to support the people that are living there. So I have a big issue with downzoning our commercial, because we need that. We need the income to support our sustainability in build-out, which we're very close to being in build-out. And so that's my biggest issue with this is I just can't downzone commercial right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you seen the master plan that was done for the entire piece there that included Gabriella Point?
Mayor Anderson, members of the council, so as of right now, they don't have an approved master plan. The apartment
it's
portion?
Not approved, but it's one that's been shown what could be happening on that corner.
Mayor Anderson, I have seen that. Mm-hmm. It is very conceptual. We have no clue if it would even develop that way. But if you're referring to that document, yes, I have seen that. But it has not been reviewed by staff whatsoever. So.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions for staff? We'll ask the applicant if you'd like to come up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Brennan Ray, 2325 East Camelback Road, here on behalf of Mill Creek Residential. We're certainly very excited to talk to you about this development tonight. We've worked closely with staff on the design to ensure that the quality of the development meets the high standards that the town has expected as developments come forward. We appreciate all the discussions we've had, all the direction and homework that we've been given along the way. And we believe that what we're talking about is the difference between good, better, and best. And as we look at the totality of the proposal, taking a look at what's in the area, what exists in the area, and what current constraints are, we believe that what we are proposing is the highest and best use for this particular piece of land. This 15 acres that's located off of Higley and Alona. And tonight, I think I'm going to focus on some of the positives that we believe this development brings, in spite of some of the concerns that we've heard as we've gone along the way. Does this work? Yeah, we'll play with it. So the site, and something certainly that you're all familiar with, and I think has been touched on, one of the key things that's impacted the development of this area exists what's on the west side of Higley Road at Alona. And another thing that consider when we talk about the commercial, and I'm mindful that percentages were thrown out about the commercial land that's left. The question that I would ask is, has anyone done a deep dive study to see the viability of those commercial amounts that staff just indicated? And so when you look at it, especially with the seismic shifts that have taken place in the brick and mortar, in the expansion and the effective kerosene that was thrown on online sales through the COVID pandemic, there have been seismic shifts in the way that commercial properties operate today. And what we're really talking about at the end of the day is talking about a change of 10 acres. We're not talking about a change to 45 acres. We're not talking about a change to 50 acres. We're talking about 10 acres that's located on the corner of two collector streets with limited frontage and visibility from Higley Road. There's a portion that I can build by right today, and that's the portion in the pink on the left. And we are proposing 15,000 square feet of neighborhood services retail. We think that certainly is a little more appropriate for the town's desire to have walkable, interactive commercial developments rather than having a bunch of pads and drive-throughs in this particular location. We're trying to create something special. So really what we're talking about is effectively the back 10 acres, the area that's in the yellow buildings and stuff like that. Keith talked about the conception, these conceptive elevations. And as we've gone through the process, we haven't heard any concerns expressed about the quality of it. One of the things, again, that we're trying to do is create something a little bit different, a little bit unique, and that was the challenge that was given to us. That's why we have this pedestrian bridge, sky bridge, that's connecting the two, something that I don't believe exists in the town today as we look at it. And so you can see that. One of the things, before I get into it, we know as we look at the town of Gilbert's mission values, vision and values in the 4 areas, we believe that we are satisfying them in a number of ways, and I'll just touch on a few of them. We believe that this development will increase local spending power to strengthen commercial viability. We believe that this development will be a catalyst for future development within Gabriella Point. We are certainly providing additional housing options in what is, as we all know, is a very desirable part of the town to live. There was a question asked about the vacancy. I can tell you that within a 5-mile radius of this site, the vacancy of the existing multifamily is 95%, which is effectively 100% in the leasing world. And so there are no additional housing options in this very desirable part of the town to live in. We're trying to create a cohesive development that we believe helps going to raise the bar for future developments. We've listened and made changes based on the feedback that we received, and we believe that really what we're talking about is creating an appropriate balance of commercial and residential uses that will be a complement in the area. Now, there are 3 things that I'm going to touch on, the first being traffic, as Councilmember Buckland raised and as we've heard. We did, through this process, despite what staff said, we actually had 2 neighborhood meetings on this case. Grand total of 1 neighbor showed up at those neighborhood meetings. We certainly are not aware of the additional 7 notes in opposition that came in today. Those were not provided to us. But as we look at traffic, as when we talk about it, one of the things that we talk about, and this was prepared by our traffic engineer, and I did, through the mayor, Councilmember Buckland, have a conversation with staff today about it. But as we look at this, this is a reasonable, very conservative estimate of what could be built on this 15 acres. Now, like anything, there's a combination of things that go into this. Drive-throughs, inline shops, there's a variety of things that come to this. And so we took a very conservative approach when we looked at this. And this is within a 24-hour period. That's what that weekday number. There are over 9,000 trips, which are movements, not vehicles, that are going to be generated by this development. When we compare that with our site, you can see there that we're roughly right around 2,200 trips. Again, that includes the commercial on the frontage with the residential in the back. So that when you look at it in apples to apples comparison, recognizing that depending on the mix of commercial uses, that 9,000 will go up and down. But as is well known and understood, and as was expressed by Councilmember Torgerson, an all-commercial development is going to significantly exacerbate the problem. When you look at that impact on Higley Road today, this thermometer gives you a pretty good idea of when compared to the capacity of what exists on Higley today, the commercial being on the left in red, and our development on the right in green in terms of what we are doing. So this additional stipulation that was discussed with staff, and I did have a conversation with the city attorney about it as well today. But as we look at it, we recognize that there are a number of things that affect traffic on Higley. Again, as was mentioned, there's somebody on the west side of Higley that significantly impacts that. And it also not only affects the intersection, but will affect this proposed development if approved by staff. And so in an effort to help with that and help try to get a head start on figuring out a solution to it, the developer is proposing this additional stipulation as staff indicated. And we think this is a good thing. So when we talk about the Gabriella Point development potential, Mayor Anderson, in response to your question, this plan was not shared with staff. Contrary to what Keith said, this plan was not shared. This was a plan that we had pulled together kind of at the last minute that was asked, hey, how does this development fit in with the current zoning that exists in Gabriella Point as you look at it? And what you can see on there is a number of things, starting with the area immediately north of us. And that is a roughly 28-acre commercial development that will have approximately 236,000 square feet of retail. And as we talk about retail and commercial land and what is appropriate, I couldn't tell you why this regional commercial land has not developed. As far as the things that make it appeasing for a commercial developer, traffic counts is always very important. What happens on arterial streets. And northbound Higley, eastbound Warner is the going home corner. That makes it very desirable from a commercial development standpoint. We're certainly familiar with the demographics in the area, and I could not tell you why. The only conclusion, and I'll get into in a little bit, is that 45 acres, which is on the screen today, is too much commercial. That would be akin to having 2 or 3 major anchors. I know in the paper today was an announcement for, I believe it was Whole Foods and Dick's, 2 big anchors that are going down at Santan and Williamsfield, if I remember correctly of that. So as we look at the balance of the site up against the freeway, what you'll see immediately south of the site is some commercial. You will see a 4-story hotel with some restaurants. I like that so much that I've talked to my hotel clients because I think that is a good use of that regional commercial land. And then when you look at the balance of it, those 6 buildings, as well as the buildings north of it, that is the business park. And this plan was pulled together by Butler Design Group. That name might not mean anything to you, but they are one of the preeminent design firms of non-residential developments. They like this plan so much that they drew up that they're waiting for the opportunity to actually share this with some of their clients, in particular focusing on the commercial up at the corner of Higley and Warner. So when we look at this and talk about benefits and considerations, we had an economic study prepared that was done by Jim Rounds, and he's prepared multiple studies relative to this. And I think there's some things when we look at the existing environment that are important factors when looking at this particular site, again, the 10-acre site, that within the existing 5-mile radius, you see there that while there's a lot of commercial in that area, there also is a little bit of leakage that occurs to the tune of about 6.5 million because of vacancies within that 5-mile radius. The text on the right, again, indicates and shows what I mentioned about accelerant being placed on internet sales, and how you can see that over the course of really the next decade, and we're year 25 of that 10 years, the significant increase of online and e-commerce sales. So when we look at this development and the benefit that it does provide, it does this community, which will be comprised of 318 new households, is estimated to contribute $12.4 million back into the Gilbert economy. That provides a significant amount of support to the existing commercial businesses that exist in the area. On top of that, we're paying over $4 million in impact fees, and those are the new fees that this group adopted, paying another $5 million in fees and permits as we go throughout this process. And so as you start to look at it, you can see the other things there, but I think it's important to note when we talk about multifamily, yes, we are talking about density, but there is considerable spending power that as you look at the density and the number that Keith put up relative to how much within a half-mile, that first bullet point there, that represents roughly 1,259 households. Those households, on average, are going to put $49 million within a 5-mile radius, which makes sense if you think about it. People shop where they live, and this is certainly a very desirable area of the town to do it. And with respect to Gilbert becoming too much multifamily, I can go into more details if you need to, but for the town of Gilbert to be considered average as it relates to multifamily, you would need to approve another 12,000 units just to be considered average relative to the amount of multifamily housing. So when we look at it on whole, we again believe that as we look at it, there are a number of benefits. And the focus really is on 10 acres. As I showed you, we think that there still is a lot of development potential in the area, and shows how this isn't going to be a straw that breaks the camel's back relative to future development in this area, but how it can be cohesively designed, integrated to be a master planned development that the zoning would propose, that the current zoning and our proposal would allow. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have, but we would request your approval with the additional stipulation.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant? Councilmember Bongiovanni.
What will be the average rent per apartment?
Mayor, Councilman Bongiovanni, I would need to confirm that with my client, but I believe the average rent is going to be somewhere around $2,400.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Torgerson.
Just one thing is that within 3 miles, according to CoStar, there's 8,105 units with a vacancy rate of 8.7. Under construction is 1,272 at this time. So if that alters your numbers a little bit, I don't know if that helps or hurts you. But, when you talked about a deep dive into it, previous councils tended to rezone very easily, in my opinion. I looked and I thought things
I apologize, Mayor. Councilman Torgerson, I'm having a tough time, believe it or not, hearing what you're saying. I apologize.
No problem. Let me go back and restate it. CoStar says within 3 miles, existing inventory of apartments is 8,105 units with a vacancy rate of 8.7%. Under construction is 1,272 units. So that is a little shy of the numbers I think that you were talking about, but within the discussion. What I wanted to say is you talked about deep diving into things. Previous councils, in my opinion, just threw it on the table and rezoned a lot of commercial, a lot, and they shouldn't have. I can think of a couple where people wanted the property for commercial and somehow it ended up being residential. It's damaging. But the argument of traffic, I don't think anybody here I don't see how it could be held against you, because I believe your numbers are correct. I've had to do this for something years ago, and I found that residential was lower. But if we're at a point where we can't discuss commercial across the street from a school, because the school's done so much damage with traffic, we have to rethink what we're doing on the street itself. We're going to have to think about expanding that street, changing traffic patterns, something, because there's no reason to say we're devaluing people's property if we're going to do it on traffic. They certainly bring too much traffic. I go up that a lot, and especially around school openings, and it's pretty miserable. So I want to say that I don't want to hold the traffic against you. I have other issues that I think we all need to talk about. But one issue I'm going to try, 297% fewer. Think about that for a second. I'm giving you a hard time because it's supposed to be the other direction. You're providing about 1/3. Just giving you a hard time on your math. But I wanted to state that about your traffic, and that's everybody's edification to your numbers about vacancies and how many apartments there are within 3 miles, not 5.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Councilman Torgerson. Yeah, 8%, that puts it 92% occupied, certainly within the margin of error as you look at it. But with respect to the comment about prior councils and what they've done relative to multifamily, I've had an opportunity to stand before, not this council as comprised today, but had the opportunity to talk about multifamily in the past. And I can tell you that as we look at it and as we've had lots of discussions along the way, I don't recall ever having to get this granular with the positivity that this type of a development can bring. But I think it's important to note and to see just exactly what we're talking about, because when we talk about loss of commercial, we sometimes think that means zero. That there is not going to be any positive, not getting into what the state's done with the rental sales tax. But I think what's important to note is the commercial pie and the available commercial businesses that can locate on sites. It's about right-sizing the amount of commercial at this corner. Again, I cannot tell you why it has not developed, other than 45 acres is a lot to develop at this particular area.
Councilmember Kaprowski.
Hey, Brendan, thanks for your presentation. I have a question about the site plan and the amount of commercial. There's just the one building shown as commercial, and with the pink and the yellow, that one. I didn't look at this as closely, but in previous renditions, I thought there was additional commercial in that second building, but now you're showing it as all residential. Can you talk a little bit more about why the commercial can't be enhanced or increased to that second building?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Kaprowski, yes, you are thinking of a prior version of this site plan where there was a thought that we would provide commercial at the ground floor of the residential building, the one closest to it. As we visited with them, there were some questions about the viability of that commercial. And by that I mean what we were proposing in that area was looking at using some of the workout, the lounge area, the business center, some of that that were more residential amenities to be able to count towards the commercial use. I don't recall that we had planned any significant commercial use as we are showing on this site plan that's before you now. And certainly if there's a need to go back and look at the amount of commercial, we certainly can consider that. Part of the idea and thinking, if we go a few miles down the road to Higley and Ray, we've seen the success of Agritopia. We've seen the success that's gone there with the ground floor retail and the residential above. Mill Creek is developing west of the southwest corner with ground floor retail and loft above. And based on the feedback and the interest that they knew was in that area, including feedback that they had received for local businesses, again, the neighborhood commercial variety, they felt that it was appropriate to try to continue that. So they've taken what they did down there, enhanced it 2.0 to be able to come up with a proposal that's before you today. And when we look at it and we look at commercial, the farther away, as you are probably aware, you get away from an arterial street, the more challenging that the smaller commercial does tend to have, unless it's tied to a Fry's, a Home Depot, some of that larger stuff. So when we looked at that, looked at the depth and visibility as you're coming northbound on Higley, it really made us scratch our heads what's, again, the best use of this 10 acres. This frontage and the commercial that's there, it has the visibility, it has the exposure that the commercial developers want. And so we believe that what we're providing here, given the depth and constraints and all that stuff, is appropriate. And we are providing, you might not be able to see it or be aware, but there is a connection to the north for that future commercial, because we see that as a positive. And we believe that, as I mentioned, that this development can be a catalyst for future commercial north of here.
I do like the connection to the future parcel, but I do wish there was more commercial. I think that neighborhood commercial areas are kind of the future, especially in Gilbert. We have these small pockets that are going to support the people, but I do wish there was more commercial here.
Councilmember Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Couple questions, Mr. Wright. One, you talked about 1 million square feet of vacancy of commercial property within 5 miles. Do you know how much of that percentage is within South Mesa? Because South Mesa is just roughly 2 miles up the road. So you've got Superstition Mall that's up there that's pretty vacant. Was that included in your figure, or?
Mayor, Councilmember Lyons, if you'll permit me to ask my client that question, just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Lyons, we believe but cannot say with certainty that it would not have included Superstition Springs, but I can't stand up here and avow that it did not include the Superstition Springs Mall area. If that's some additional homework that we have to do, depending on the rest of the discussion tonight, we're certainly more than happy to drill that in as well.
All right, and that kind of leads me to a second question. You've said a couple times that probably a developer would be, or an anchor would be reluctant to develop such a large piece of parcel at the, what was it, 40-some acres. Have you guys, did I hear that correctly, first of all?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Lyons, as we look, and I'll go ahead and pull it up since we're kind of talking about the overall. As we look at this, and you can see what is on here, there is a, what I'll call a major, and then a minor major. 45 acres, if you drive around town, think of the development off of Power and the 202, of more of a power center. And so when you talk about commercial developments of this particular size, again, 45 acres, that is a power center size, not a traditional shopping center size. I believe the Fry's at within Cooley Station around there, which is a great example, they're roughly 25-ish acres, and I had the opportunity to work on that. And so as you look at where the traditional centers have gone, their acreage is roughly 25 20 to 25 acres.
I noted that I like the idea of the hotel in the area that you're putting it down there near the U-Haul storage, but along that line, have you approached any developers about maybe a smaller portion to work rather than 45, looking at 25 or 30 and trying to piecemeal this in? Have you guys looked at something like that?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Lyons, certainly I can't say that my client has, but in understanding and having discussions with the seller, this property's been zoned regional commercial since 2018. And so there was the run-up that occurred before COVID, and then everything exploded for a minute after COVID. And so as I've visited with them, and as my clients visited with them about interest and offers that they've received over time, they have not received any offers for commercial development of this size. Now, I certainly can't speak to whether or not they were talking about 45 acres versus 26 acres. I know, and I had a conversation with the gentleman that drew this up today, that he is waiting for the opportunity to be able to go and talk to his clients about this 26 acres because he believes that there is a potential opportunity there. Again, he's been doing it a long time. I've been doing it a long time. As I look at the site in the area, I think 26 acres plus, you know, the frontage that we're providing is again probably the highest and best use for this area.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Bongiovanni.
Thank you, Mayor. It's great. I love this rendition you have here. Hotel, the whole 9 yards. Is your client willing to wait to see if we can get some of these other things developed?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Bongiovanni. You know, time is a funny thing in that as we look at it and look at what could come online, I don't believe that the passage of time will have a material effect on the viability of this 10 acres that we're really effectively talking about.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. I apologize for it. But you know that 318 apartments at about $2,400 a month, we would have been looking at rental tax of $183,000 a month. I mean, a year. Now, it's not your fault that the state took away our rental tax. But since they did take away our rental tax, why would this council ever approve taking away commercial property for a multifamily apartment?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Bongiovanni, I think as we look at it, I think the initial first question that needs to be answered with respect to your question that you just asked me is how viable is 45 acres of commercial at this location? And as I've had discussions with numerous people, that is a very open and valid question to ask. Again, if you look at the way the commercial market has gone, and I'm certainly sensitive to giving up commercial dollars, sales tax dollars relative to the town as well. But I think as you look at it, it does beg the question, what is viable and what is going to make sense? Again, tucked back at the corner of two arterials, you know, and if you look at, again, we just had Whole Foods and Dick's, two major anchors that would be great for this site that have landed elsewhere. And so if you look at the commercial pie of what it has shrunk considerably. It has been significantly impacted with internet sales and e-commerce and stuff like that. That trend is not changing anytime soon. And so when you look at that, you look at some of the mom and pops that have gone out of business, the mergers and consolidations that have taken place across the grocery market, and you look at the major anchors, the big draws that you would need for this type of a development, you start to run out of, you know, relief pitchers that you can call in for this particular site. And that's why, again, as we looked at it and went into the deep dive, there still is a positive that comes back to the town of Gilbert with the spending power that these residents will have to bolster the town's economy.
Okay. So what you're saying is that this, and I call it a master plan, tongue-in-cheek. But the master plan itself isn't viable.
No, through the mayor, Councilmember Bongiovanni, I think as this image is before you, obviously D exists today, but as I look at it, this is a very viable solution for how these other parcels that aren't before you can be developed. We're all aware of the importance of freeway visibility, and certainly, you know, having that business park down there, those are very viable options within the business park district. Same thing with the office, medical office that's there. And I think as you look at it and think about it, again, what this area was once envisioned for, Higley and the 202, that vision has been altered with what went in across the street. And we can't ignore that. We can't ignore the self-storage facility that has already been built at the southern end. All of those constraints impact it. And again, as I look at it and have worked with numerous commercial clients and developers, all the big ticket items that one would want for a commercial development, traffic and demographics, are here in spades. And yet, for some reason, this has not developed.
So what would stop another developer coming in front of us 6 months from now saying this stuff hasn't sold, so we want to put it on their multifamily there?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Bongiovanni, I don't know.
Okay.
Other than to say, you guys still control the keys.
Again, I love what you had here. You know, when we met and you went over this with me before, I loved the whole concept. I just, you know, it's tough to say, yes, let's get rid of commercial for a multifamily if we don't have these other components already lined up there. But thanks.
Through the mayor, council member, certainly understand and recognize your comment. But again, and I apologize for repeating myself, we are providing commercial on the frontage in the appropriate location. The microscope that we're under is the 10 acres in the back.
Vice Mayor.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of bring up something, because a lot of, and I know you've done massive research, and I'm very impressed by that. But we keep, and I've heard this from other council members talking about the school that's causing all the traffic issues. None of us know if maybe 6 months from now that school may decide this is just too dangerous to be there and we're going to find another spot. And then that leaves all of that land and the commercial. And what I'm saying is a lot of this is guessing, because as you said before, we don't know what's going to happen. And I just wanted to bring that up, because it's put out like the school is there. Something is going to have to be done about the traffic with the school. And I agree with Councilmember Torgerson. We need to put an extra lane in there, something, but that's for another time. But there's nothing that says that school might not move, and then we've lost both sides of income.
Yeah, through the mayor, Vice Mayor Buckley, certainly understand the comment. I don't know that a charter school that's as busy as that one is in danger of relocating anytime soon, but I'm also not in the charter school business. But as I understand it, I believe through a conversation that one of the ideas that if that site does go, for whatever reason the school moves away, that it potentially would develop as a commercial center. And so then what you would have then is commercial on both sides, and that leads us right back to the discussion that we're talking about now, is how much commercial is too much versus how much is appropriate and right-sized to create a viable and long-term sustainable development.
Right. I mean, I know this, and I'm sure you do too, but that is a prime commercial freeway, almost freeway frontage commercial piece of land. And it's tough to let go of that. Because it could potentially bring, and we don't know why that hasn't sold. We don't know why other different commercial spots haven't sold yet, and maybe the town just hasn't been, you know, aggressive in trying to get that sold up to this point. But that's just some points I wanted to make.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for the applicant? Councilmember Buckland?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment to kind of wrap up, I think, where I'm at. I had mentioned before, traffic's my biggest concern. I've not been in favor of exchanging commercial for apartments. I recognize that we are extremely low in apartments compared to other cities. I recognize that you may be right in terms of we may have to think differently at some point here, because why has nothing developed? That's prime land. Nothing is developed there. There's a lot of unknowns. My biggest concern, where you got my attention, Mr. Ray, was in the data you showed me, showing no matter what goes there, traffic's going to go up. That's a given, right? And like Councilmember Torkins said, we're not going to hold you accountable to that. Where you got my attention was what you showed was a significantly smaller impact based on what you want to do as compared to how it's zoned. So that's huge for me, because that's 6,000 less cars a day, jumbling things up. My biggest problem is that, and want to support this right now, is that, and I went back in my calendar, we met on March 11th, and you showed me that data, and I had asked you guys to show the town staff that. So they had an opportunity to review it, to agree with it, to challenge it, and work through those things together to come to the right outcome of what that data really is, useful information, and it didn't get to them until today. They've not had time to challenge it. I want to trust your engineer. I don't know him. I want our team to be able to collaborate over the same data so that we can make a smart decision, and I think getting it to them 5 hours before this meeting is just too late. So that's my biggest hang-up right now in being able to move forward.
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Buckland, thank you. And certainly if this council deems it appropriate that we need to go do some additional homework, maybe talk to some more people, and come back before you when we've vetted things a little bit more and dug into things a little bit deeper, we're certainly happy to accommodate that request to do more homework. At every step of the way, we've tried to be very responsive as we've listened to concerns and comments, have made changes to the site plan and the proposal based on the feedback that we've heard. And if there is a need for us to go do some more homework, I think my client would be agreeable to doing more homework.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I would add that we do have the 7 names of those who submitted comments online. All opposed: Daniel Straza, Sarah Straza, Brian Mosley, Jennifer Wada, Kelly Min Johnston, Ryan Handelsman, Stacia Elan. With that, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion and or motion. Councilmember Torgerson.
Can someone on staff delineate all of the possible uses for retail commercial?
Mayor Anderson, members of the council. So for regional commercial, it actually has a quite a wide range of commercial uses. It's the zoning district in the town that allows the most commercial uses. Besides, it can things such as hospitality uses, entertainment, recreation uses, personal service type uses, and office developments. So it's a very wide range of commercial uses. Town staff, I just wanted to add this. Town staff has presented the Gabriella Point project, and this is in your staff report. to several interested entertainment and recreation users in recent years who were encouraged to engage in discussions with the property owner by town staff. But this interest demonstrates the potential for these diverse amount of uses that I just mentioned, beyond retail. Their market study only addressed retail. It did not address the entertainment and the hospitality and the office component of things that are allowed in regional commercial. And their traffic study only also addressed retail. It did not address these other uses that could generate potentially less traffic than general retail would. So just wanted to mention that. Hopefully that answers your question, Councilmember Torgerson.
Yeah, and just if you're able to confirm it, I believe the commercial vacancy rate in within 5 miles is 4.3%, whereas the overall of Gilbert is 3.3%. Do you have that same information?
Mayor Anderson, Councilmember Torgerson, I don't have that information. I don't know if our economic development team is here, if they have that information or not. I don't have it, though, personally, myself.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Bongiovanni.
Thank you, Mayor. For me, this is kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg? And since eggs cost more than chickens these days, it's kind of strange for me. But, you know, if this apartment complex was built, would it bring more commercial in the area? I would think that since the 750-odd apartment complex is being built now, we would see some of that activity. If the commercial interest was there, I would love to have this project there. But for me personally, I don't want to take the risk of saying yes to a multifamily there, not developing with commercial around it, and then a year later, 6 months later, we're in a situation where we have another developer saying, I want to build 550 apartments here. So I'd like to see the area develop a little bit first before I make any decision to change zoning for apartments. That's how I feel about it.
Councilmember Kaprowski.
I know this council has given direction in the past to not rezone commercial land, but every project has its merits and needs to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. The things that I did like about the project were the commercial and neighborhood experience and the connectivity to the future parcel and the location of the freeway access. I think that would mitigate a lot of traffic. I know we talk about traffic at the school, but schools generate traffic, and that's not something that is going to be mitigated by adding more lanes in this case. Higley Road is fully built out, and I'm surprised that we haven't, or I'd like to know more about the developer contribution to the infrastructure improvements. Because normally a development in this area, if this road wasn't built out, would need to contribute, and that $200,000 level, you know, that traffic signal alone is probably $800,000. So 1/4 of it where they are, I mean, seems reasonable. If Gilbert built Higley Road in that area through a CIP project, I wonder why we're not obtaining that developer contribution. We've also raised system development fees a lot. So I think all of our future projects as we go through build out are going to be either the commercial or the multifamily. I think that's a reality we have to face. I do believe that commercial must be supported by people that are there. This project could stimulate adjacent development. And so as we continue to look at these projects, I do think that increased population also equates to increased state shared revenues, increased sales tax revenues, and keeping our property tax low. So that's what I'm looking at whenever I evaluate these projects. But for this project as presented today, I don't think there's enough commercial. And I would propose that we table the item and allow the applicant to do additional research, come up with additional information that can be vetted by staff before they come back.
Mr. Ray.
Mayor, if it is appropriate, I jumped out at Councilmember Kaprowski's comments because as I've listened to the discussion, sounds like we need to do some more homework. And so with that, we would support Councilmember Kaprowski's request to table the matter, that it does be continued so that we continue to dive deeper. We appreciate and understand the sensitivity of talking about the loss of commercial land. And we believe that in light of that, in light of the discussion that we are grateful that is had tonight, that the dive needs to go deeper into what it is that we're proposing. And so we would request a continuance.
Did you understand the questions that are out there that need more analysis?
Mayor, I believe that I do. If I don't, I will certainly be the first to speak up, but I think I've got them in my head and on my sheet.
Thank you. Council, any further discussion, or I entertain a motion?
Mayor Anderson, if I may just jump in, I know there's been some talk about potential tabling the item or continuance. Just want to remind the council under our rules of procedure, a motion to continue is you pick a date certain, you find a future date, and that's when that will be heard again. If it's a motion to table, that means the applicant would need to come back and do all the appropriate notices that they would. So my recommendation would be, if you want to bring it back, do a motion to continue to a date certain.
Mayor, in light of what City Attorney said, we would request a 2-month continuance.
What would that date be?
Mayor Anderson, members of council, if we're looking 2 months out, that is the end of May. May 20th would be that date.
That word, May 20th?
Yes.
Councilmember Buckland?
Thank you, Mayor. To staff, does that give you 2 months, because I know there's a million projects going on, does that give you enough time to review the traffic engineering data that was presented to us but not to you until this afternoon?
Mayor, council members, Ava Kutro, Planning Manager. I don't know the answer to that. Staff was actually quite surprised that there was a site plan discussed tonight and shared with council that staff had never seen. Same thing with the traffic study. So we don't know, because right now, all that we're prepared to discuss is that 15-acre parcel. There was a lot of other discussion tonight that staff has no background on, nor could comment on. So 2 months may be enough time, it may not be. I don't know what is being proposed at this time. Thank you.
Councilman, what's your pleasure? Councilmember Kaprowski.
I move to continue.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yes,
First.
Vice Mayor.
Sorry, I don't, unless it's in my email now, I asked for a copy of that traffic study as well, and I have not received that either. So, I mean, if this is going to move on, I would like to see that.
Through the mayor, Vice Mayor Buckley, we certainly will comply with that request.
Thank you.
I think he understands everything that's needed. Councilmember Kaprowski.
I move to continue item 6 to the May 20th council meeting.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we continue the item till May 20th. Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 10. Conduct hearing and consider adoption of ordinance number 2936, amending the Code of Gilbert by amending Chapter 42, Offenses and Abatement of Public Nuisances. Article 8, Abatement of Public Nuisances, Division 2, Community Preservation Ordinance, Part 3, Administration and Enforcement Section 42-322, notice of violation relating to notification requirements and declaring an emergency. Ava.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This was presented to you at a study session on February 11th. The community preservation ordinance was approved by town council in June. It was effective in July. We have used it now for a little more than half a year, and we've realized during the use of it that it had mentioned that the notices go out by certified mail, which is very costly, and we spoke with legal. Court allows certified or first-class mail. So staff is recommending a very minor change to allow first-class mail for notification to residents. Right now, in the 4 months that we've been keeping figures, first-class mail is about 73 cents. Certified mail is $9. So we're spending about $400 a month because right now the community preservation ordinance only allows for in-person service or certified mail. So by adding first-class mail, we would still use it when needed, but we think that, certified mail would still be used when needed, when we would need proof of receipt, but for the most part, first-class mail would suffice to notify people of violations. So the motion is to approve the proposed change. Again, the change just adds first-class mail as one of the 3 options for notification.
Council members. Councilmember Torgerson.
I think I was the only person that voted against this particular code. And I'm asking this because if we're going to have a code, we want to enforce it, right? If we're going to do it, let's do it. But are you anticipating that first class will get the same results as certified mail?
Mayor, Councilmember Torgerson, I am asserting that, and actually it may get better notification. I've done code enforcement for over 30 years. Certified mail, you have to sign for. Certified mail often does not get picked up. People that know they are in violation will avoid certified mail. First-class mail, if they refuse it, it gets sent back to us, so we're aware that it was refused. While we don't have a signed document, we still have proof as to whether or not it was delivered. Also, most people don't fight the violations. We make them aware of it. They work with code enforcement to solve them. But it does anger residents when they come home and there's a note and they have to go to the post office to pick up the certified mail. Again, if it just came in the mail, they would notify us, yeah, give me 2 weeks, I'll get the grass clippings or the weeds done. So just from past experience, first-class mail works just as well and is actually more convenient for our residents. We want to keep certified mail in that, and of course we would work with the legal team for when we think that might be necessary. For instance, if we think something will not be resolved and may go to court, maybe we try twice by first-class mail and the last time by certified mail. But again, the court accepts either first-class or certified mail.
Okay, it was a question I didn't ask during our study session, and I thought, are we wasting our time by doing first class? But your feeling is we're going to get better results, really?
I do. When I did this at a previous town, we did all certified, and we had more people not picking them up or coming down to town hall like, really? You made me go ahead and just annoyed. Couldn't you have just let me know that I had weeds? And then when we switched to first-class mail, we didn't have as many disgruntled customers, and we did have the same results.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ava. I have no other further comments by the public. I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Kaprowski, sorry.
Mayor, I just have a comment. Maybe this is for Chevali, but in the packet on item 10 at the end of the paragraph, it says, and declaring an emergency. Just wondering if that was a error that would need to be documented.
Councilmember Karowski, we're pulling that up right now and we'll verify if that was a clerical error.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have all comments. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion and/or motion.
I move to accept 10 as written.
Second.
Before you vote, council, just want to clarify something to Councilmember Kaprowski's question. It is in the ordinance. The idea of that was that it could, if it does pass tonight, it'd be effective immediately, rather than having to wait 30 days for it to come into effect.
Right.
Okay, I still second. Thank you.
He still seconds. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. To begin the consent calendar portion of the meeting tonight, I will pass the time over to our town manager, Patrick Banger, to provide an I even have it written down. I have a thing with this mic. It's just, I have it written down, mic on. All right, I'm going to start over. To begin the consent calendar portion of the meeting, I will pass the time over to our town manager, Patrick Banger, to provide an overview of the items on the consent calendar this evening. And those are items 11 through 33. And Patrick, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Go ahead and bring the presentation up. Okay, as we're all aware, items on the consent agenda are largely matters that have to do with the general business of the town and delivery of services. What we've put together tonight for you is a overview of those items and providing you with some additional context on what those items mean for our community outside of just contracts and agreements that you approve to help bring better clarity as to what those go towards, like projects of critical importance for our water infrastructure, our transportation systems. If you have any questions on any of the matters, because I'm just going to touch upon them on a high level, please feel free to ask questions. We do have staff here, as always, to answer any additional questions you may have about matters before you to be acted upon. And if you have any feedback on this format going forward, please let me know that as well, and we can continue to tweak it as we develop something or finalize this in what we believe is in the best interest of our community. So to get going, you're going to see that the items from the consent agenda will not follow in numerical order. We have grouped them into our 3 areas of focus around a strong economy, a prosperous community, and an exceptional built environment. We'll start with the strong economy, item number 19. These are essentially marketing activities to drive tourism, business, and activity to our hotels, our shops, our restaurants, and our tourism-based amenities that we have in Gilbert, Arizona. The funds that we use for that come from our bed tax funds, which are specifically earmarked for these types of activities. And it's a variety of agreements as required with various agencies that we will contract with to carry out various components, portions of those components. Fire Department regional partnerships. First, the IGA with the City of Maricopa authorizes Gilbert Fire and Rescue to provide fire service training to Maricopa Fire and medical personnel. As an automatic aid partner, Maricopa can serve the residents of Gilbert, and therefore the town benefits from the training they receive at our facility. And then we have a 2004 Pierce Quantum Pumper that has reached the end of its useful life for us. And this agreement would provide this surplus piece of equipment to the Hell's Gate Fire District up in the more rural northern sections of our state, and they will provide the town with $5,000 for this piece of equipment, which is its useful value on an open market. Next, IGA supporting school resource officer funding in the Higley and Gilbert Unified School Districts. These are agenda items number 12 and 13. These are not new positions. These are existing SROs we have on our police force right now. And this is primarily provides for reimbursement from the school districts for those costs tied to the SROs. So 3 with the Higley Unified School District, 5 with the Gilbert Unified School District, and our school resource officers are a critical component to our ability to engage with our youth and help deal with youth-related issues and youth-related violence issues. So critical members of our team, and this helps provide funding for those programs. Agenda item number 31, we're using funds from the Arizona Opioid Settlement Funds to create an FTE position for behavioral health and addition co-responder for the police crisis response team. We previously contracted with a private vendor who is no longer continuing this line of service. So in evaluating the options and who's out there, we believe it's best to bring this position in-house. And these are this is a critical member of that team to support people that are in crisis that interact with our first responders and our police department in particular. Next item up have to do with some utility projects. 2 of these, item number 11 and item number 26, are for our well program. As you know, we've got an accelerated well project program underway so that we can best prepare the town for any additional drought conditions and restrictions that may be placed on our Colorado River water supply in particular to meet those peak demands. And then item number 25 is a JOC contract for some electrical improvements at our South Reservoir system. Street infrastructure projects deal with agenda items 15, 22, and 24. They're pretty straightforward. One is an IGA with MAG for an arterial capacity improvement project at McQueen and Elliott. 22 is PMCM service contract for improvements to the intersection of Higley and Queen Creek. The source of those funds would be our 2022 GO bonds. And item number 24 is an annual contract with Sunland Asphalt for various asphalt-related work and maintenance of our street infrastructure so that we can maintain its performance and enhance extend the life of those assets and enhance the performance of those assets over their useful life. Agenda items 27, 28, and 29, more street infrastructure projects. 27 is signal improvements at Recker and Galveston, and those come from our signal SDF as well as our roadway and maintenance funds. Item number 28 is a change order for additional QA construction services on the Mesquite Road Improvement Project. The source of those funds is our 2022 GO bonds. Item number 29 is a change order for improvements to the water main connections in the area of Ocotillo Road. That coordinates the work of the street projects with a future planned water system upgrade. It's cheaper for us to do that work as part of, in analyzing it, it was cheaper for us to do that work as part of this project as opposed to doing it later with the project which will be coming. And item number 30, CIP contingency for Muse Roads improvements to address changes to right-of-way costs for 3 properties for a total of $263,000 on contingency from our roadway maintenance fund, of which $108,000 will be reimbursed from the MAG congestion mitigation and air quality funding. Items number 16 and 18 are general projects in nature. Number 16 is a cooperative purchase agreement supporting the purchase of uniforms and related services for multiple departments for the town for up to $210,000 annually for the next 6 years. That will be funded from each department's individual operating budget for uniforms. Number 18 is a telecommunications license agreement for Flying Bull Internet, LLC. It's a private fiber broadband company. They are a licensed utility provider under the state of Arizona, and this would give them access to our right-of-way. They are, from what we understand, smaller and would be doing smaller deployments in scope and targeting areas that are smaller pockets that may not get served by other providers. Items 20, 21, and 23. 20 is a contract and amendments to existing cooperative contracts to address needs for our parks irrigation pump systems. Some of these systems are quite old. We're doing our best to extend the life of those infrastructure assets, but they do break down from time to time, and so this is just to continue to keep the system in good working order. Item number 21 is an agreement that will facilitate the replacement, upgrade, or refurbishment of 35 existing bus stop shelters in Gilbert, and that is funded by Valley Metro Public Transportation Funds. And item number 23 is the JOC contract for fencing and pathway installations at the Phoenix Avenue Pedestrian Mall near Gilbert and Ash. That mall, for those of you who may not be aware, is what runs adjacent to the railroad through the Heritage District, and this is to help safeguard pedestrian travel in that area and prevent people from crossing over onto the tracks of the active rail line. And with that, you know, I think I might have push through one real quick. I did. Agenda item number 32, which we're all well aware of, this is the additional positions to support our quality of life project initiative. These are the items that we talked about last fall at the strategic retreat, as well as our quality of life project retreat in general. And this is to support the effective planning and design, project management, and constructions of these vital projects for our community moving forward. And with that, that is the overview of the consent item agendas for tonight.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Councilmember Torgerson?
Just quickly, on number 14, are we being how are we being reimbursed on this? Is it simply time, or is there anything towards the investment we've made with this?
So they would sign our standard agreement, and we do have charges for fees for use of the facility, and we are going to be doing a full review of all those fees in the upcoming fiscal year as well.
All right, so when we do the will we be considering the investment we put into that building?
For the fees themselves, currently right now, we do not, but we're going to do a total review of all of our programs and possibly come back to council in the next fiscal year with some requested changes.
All right, 12 and 13 are protecting our kids, so that's pretty much keeping the lights on for the SROs. And 21, I want to ask, the funding, you said it was from Valley Metro. This is not something out of our general fund?
That is correct.
Okay. Otherwise, I'd be asking why, but I don't care if it comes from that.
That is correct.
And I believe it was 28. No. Oh, yes, it was 28 and 29. They're saying change orders. Is that a change order, or is that the phasing that we talked about earlier?
No, these would be actual change orders going forward. If it's a phased amendment, planned amendment to a contract, they will be titled as such. These are actual change orders. Again, for 29, that is after evaluating the current project and a future project that will be coming in that area. We realized it would be cheaper to do this as part of our current project and have that ready to then connect into the future project. Number 28, I probably would need to call on Jessica Marler or Susanna Struble, but I think it's some minor additional improvements for our Mesquite Road, adding some additional turn lanes to that project.
But overall, the change order is actually saving us money on this, not an additional.
On 29, yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Okay, with that, I will move to approve the consent. Jim, are you finished? Did you want to say something else? Okay, sorry, I just wanted to double check. Okay, I will move to, since there's no other questions to be answered, I will move to approve the consent agenda items 11 through 33. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second by, was that Councilmember Bongiovanni? Please vote.
And that concludes the consent.
Okay, yeah, motion carried 7-0. And back to you, Mayor, for the administrative.
Thank you. We have no specific administrative items for the council to discuss or action tonight. However, before we go to communications, I'd like to ask Chief Solberg to come forward to make a short statement.
Mayor and Council, Mike Solberg, Chief of Police with Gilbert Police Department. Before I begin, I want to thank those in attendance here, the family and friends of Nick Cordova, and for being here to support seeking justice for him. The Gilbert Police Department recognizes the concerns surrounding the active homicide investigation into the tragic death of Nicholas Cordova. On May 27, 2020, Nicholas Cordova was killed while he and his business partner were inside their business, Gilbert Air, located at 511 West Guadalupe in Gilbert, Arizona. Over the past 5 years, the Gilbert Police Department has dedicated extensive efforts to pursuing all leads and collaborating with state and federal agencies to hold those responsible for his death accountable, and in doing so, to bring justice to the Cordova family. We recognize it has been a long and painful 5 years for the Cordova family, and we are committed to continuing to provide as much information as, as we responsibly can. Unfortunately, there are critical limitations on what can be shared publicly at this time, as maintaining the integrity of the investigation and safeguarding future prosecutions is paramount. We recognize this may not bring immediate comfort to family and friends of Nicholas Cordova, and want to assure the family and the community that justice for Nicholas Cordova maintains our unwavering priority. Our commitment to diligently pursuing the case will not falter, and we deeply regret that the necessary restrictions on releasing details may compound frustration. However, every measure we take is to ensure accountability for this devastating loss. As we continue to work with state and federal agencies, we humbly ask for patience and understanding and extend our heartfelt sympathy to those grieving the tragic loss. While we cannot release additional information at this time that could jeopardize our investigation and any future prosecutions, the Gilbert Police Department stands with the family and the community in seeking justice for Nicholas Cordova. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll move on to communications. Vice Mayor.
I have the mic on, so we will start. I'm going to start with reading the rules of decorum. So we value the participation of our community members and the robust exchange of ideas. However, it's essential that this discourse remains respectful and constructive, reflecting the professionalism expected in such forums. Misinformation and personal attacks undermine our collective efforts and do not contribute to the productive dialogue necessary for our town's progress. This is an opportunity for the public to address the town council directly about issues impacting the town. Accordingly, the town council will not allow for moments of silence or the playing of music or other recorded materials which could distract from meeting decorum or violate copyrights. While we understand and appreciate the passion our community members bring to this session, we remind everyone that clapping during the meeting is not acceptable. This practice can disrupt the flow of discussion, potentially intimidate others, and distract from the respectful atmosphere we strive to maintain. Tonight, we will invite you to come up to the podium. When you come up to the podium, please state your name and your city of residence, and you will have 3 minutes to directly address the town council unless otherwise indicated. If the current speaker will be using 3 minutes of another person's time, that person should state their name, and you can just wave or whatever, and acknowledge state your name, the city and that you reside in, and acknowledge that you are donating their 3 minutes to the current speaker. And with that, our first speaker will be Josh Reynolds. Oops.
Hello, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Josh Reynolds, and I've lived in Gilbert for 39 years. I was a town employee with your fire department for 20 years until I retired in July of 2022. I've been around the department since day one, when my father was lucky enough to be one of the first 20 members who started the GFD on January 1st, 1993. I've grown up around here in these firehouses and was lucky enough to get hired myself when I was 23. During my 20-year career, I served as head of our firefighter charities for 9 years and was an engineer for 16 of my 20 years. I got to live out every little boy's fantasy by getting to drive a fire truck around the town I grew up in. I've wanted to come speak to you for quite some time, but was prevented from speaking by your fire chief, who has tried extremely hard to silence me. I was planning on telling my story tonight, but I will need to come back to a future meeting for that. Tonight, I need to talk about some recent events that I would like you and the community to know about. After I retired in July of 2022, I delivered a Christmas card in December of that year to multiple town employees. I was also vocal on social media about the current administration, both running your fire department and the town. A month later, in January of 2023, I received an order of protection from members of your team, such as Rob Duggan, Leah Reinheimer, Nathan Williams, and Dana Birchman. Again, I delivered a Christmas card where I was dressed as Buddy the Elf, and the card says, "Keep the pension checks coming." Very lighthearted card. I had some of these charges dropped after I challenged them in court. In 2023, I was asked to be on the 360 podcast, which is run by a Valley Fire Department. It's a podcast with current and former firefighters on their careers and what they are doing in retirement. I use this platform to talk about my career and to promote our family business. My father and I run the Smoke Detector Man, which he's done an amazing job growing. Excuse me, I'm sorry. On Thursday, November 23rd, they started to promote the podcast that I was going to be on. Exactly one day later, your fire chief called that fire department that Friday, November 24th, and talked to the fire chief of that department and told him that he was calling on behalf of the town of Gilbert, and if they aired the podcast, they could be in legal trouble. Is that normal for a fire chief to use his position and power to shut down a podcast from a former employee? It doesn't sound legal or ethical to me. I came back to council to speak in January of 2024, and your fire chief had PD escort me out of the building even though my order of protection had ended. He then hired Grasso Law Firm to represent him and tried to get a misdemeanor charge against me. Ultimately, they dropped the charges the day before the trial was to begin because they knew they didn't have a case. This citizen should know that your tax dollars are going to fund the fire chief to have a lawyer to come after a citizen, a retiree. I retired from the fire department in good standing. I was given a retirement party and a final call at the fire station, which is a tradition if you're unfamiliar. I have endured all that have been thrown at me since I retired. I adhered to all the legal orders. I was vindicated in court. I'm almost done. And now all I want to do is take part in traditions that are afforded to every retiree. I deserve to be treated like a normal citizen, which means the ability to have my First Amendment rights protected. I've been targeted and harassed by your town leaders and your fire chief. I'm asking that you investigate what I've told you tonight. You have some of the best men and women on those fire trucks here in Gilbert, and they deserve to work for a true leader. Thank you for your time tonight. I look forward to a future meeting when I can share a little more about my situation. Thank you, Gilbert.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Dan Reynolds.
My name's Dan Reynolds. I'm a former employee here and a current resident of about 35, 40 years. I'm glad you finally got to meet Josh. I wish Patrick would have been watching him and listening to him, but maybe he was and I just don't know it. I want to tell you the story what Josh just talked about at our last retirement breakfast. It's a place where we all get together and get to catch up with people, have good conversation. It was going great, and Josh was working. He got in between his first job, came over there, saw him, he said hi to me, said hi to another firefighter. Another captain saw him, said, "Hey Josh, how's it going?" Talked to him a little bit, invited him in the station for a cup of coffee. Josh went in there. Chief Duggan confronted him and said, "You're not allowed to be here." Josh said, "I'm a retiree." And he looks at his assistant chief, Corey Gerard, and says, "He's not listening to me, I'm calling the cops," which he proceeds to do. I go up to Rob Duggan while he's on the phone and he says, "Excuse me, I'm calling somebody." Okay, so we stopped and we waited. He calls the police officers and they show up. And 4 of them, including a lieutenant and a sergeant, show up. And these are my words, because I'm not going to speak for them. I felt horrible for them. They were extremely professional. And probably had a hard time trying to tell us that we needed to leave. So I really felt bad, but I want to say that they were extremely professional and super nice about it. They had to go back and forth to, I believe, our town lawyer, and I believe our police chief is what kind of the impression I got, to see if Josh was doing anything wrong. They had a little bit of, I don't want to say trouble trying to explain it to us, but it was somewhat unclear. It seemed obviously unfair. We were cordial with them. They appreciated that. After much back and forth and them checking his records because of all the injunctions they put on him and orders of protection, they said, you know, the town has a right to tell you whether you can be here or not. Turns out that a recent change to the policy says from, I can't remember, but I think it was in 2023, where it seemed like they were kind of gearing it towards Josh Reynolds, or why he couldn't be there. I would love for you guys to look into that and see what you can find out, because it seems a coincidental that all of a sudden somebody that's a retiree from this fire department couldn't go to a retiree breakfast. I would like to say that with the exception of 2 of the council members here, and I'm going to give Councilman Lyons and Buckland a pass because they're brand new, but nobody has wanted to talk to us about this. I would love for you at the end of this meeting to go out in the lobby and exchange names, and I'll give you my phone number because I think there's a lot you guys need to know. Last thing, this fire department is run by a egotistical, toxic person. And the culture here is toxic. And the reason I know it's toxic is because nobody has the guts to come up here and talk about it for fear of retribution. That's toxic. That shouldn't be happening. I also like to say thank you for removing Leah Reimheimer from the PD and fire part of the town management, because she's partially responsible for our current fire chief. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Travis H.
Hello.
Hi. If you could, state your name and the city you live in.
Well, thanks for hearing me today. My name is Travis. I live here in Gilbert. I'm in LD 14.
Okay, and your last name as well. For the clerk, she has to record everything.
Oh, Heth, H-E-T-H. So my story is I've worked with people with special needs since 2013 here in the state of Arizona. During that time, I've worked with families from Santan Valley to Sun City, from Maricopa City to North Scottsdale, and I've worked with many families right here in Gilbert. During my time here, I've learned quite a bit about everyday Arizonans. I've served with both Republicans and Democrats, Mormons and Baptists, truck drivers and doctors. Helping people with special needs is an issue that unites all of us. As a citizen of Gilbert, I'm here today to urge your support for gap funding for the Division of Developmental Disabilities, or DDD. The DDD empowers individuals with developmental disabilities to lead self-directed, healthy, and meaningful lives. People eligible for these supports include people with autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, intellectual disabilities, Down syndrome, and others. The DDD not only improves the lives of an estimated 50,000 citizens of Arizona, but it also saves money otherwise spent on restrictive and expensive care, such as committing individuals to institutional settings. Right now, there is a budget deficit, and funds will run out in May and June 2025 for all DDD programs and services, if appropriation funding is not provided by our legislature before them. Approving this gap funding is not about bailing out government mismanagement. It's about fulfilling an existing obligation and addressing a critical need. The gap funding is also essential to prevent a deeper crisis, one that could lead to increased medical emergencies, hospitalizations, and institutionalization for vulnerable disabled children and adults. On top of that, caregivers of people with special needs may find themselves with increased costs at the same time that they lose their jobs. I recently discovered, thanks to Councilmember Buckland, that the Gilbert Police Department achieved the Certified Autism Center designation. And about the Bring Me Home program. I think those two programs kind of demonstrate to me that Gilbert really cares a lot about people with special needs and people in general. I ask and request that the City of Gilbert take an active role in getting DDD gap funding approved before May. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michael Clark. Michael, are you still here? I saw him earlier. I don't see him, so I'm guessing he left. So the next speaker is Justin Brook. Justin, are you here? Oh, okay. And Justin, if you would state your first name, last name, and the city you live in for the record.
Yeah, I'm Justin Brook from Scottsdale.
Thank you.
I'm here for Nick Cordova. Nick Cordova was my cousin. Not only that, one of my best friends. He was a man you can call at any time, for any reason, and he'd be there for you. He was a person everyone loved being around, including my kids, but mostly because they just liked messing with him. He'd go back and forth with them usually, but he'd lose. I have lots of memories with Nick growing up, like camping together with our family, going to the Salt River and swimming, riding three-wheelers and four-wheeling with our uncles, camping and hunting up north, and spending time at our property in Young, working on all the many vehicles we had over the years. But for me, my favorite memories with Nick were our later years. Years we spent together with our families, going on trips to San Diego, camping, zoos, family boating trips to the lakes, fishing and hunting with our kids. Unfortunately, all those memories suddenly came to a stop 5 years ago when Nick's life was brutally taken from him. Since then, my memories consist of his wife and kids trying to figure out life without their husband and father, his daughter not having a dad there for birthday parties, summer vacations, daddy-daughter dances, and his son not having his dad there to help work on bicycles, dirt bikes, or even jump-start a vehicle in the morning. The people who stop these memories need to be brought to justice. 5 years is too long. I'm here to ask you, please help us. Make noise for Nick. Put pressure on Gilbert PD to do something and find Nick's killers. This family needs closure. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is, I believe is Jeremy Garcia. If you'd state your full name, please. And
Absolutely. I'm Jeremy Garcia Ramadan, a resident of Phoenix, Arizona. Mayor Anderson, council members, thank you so much for giving our family the opportunity to speak to you today about Nick Cordova and what he meant. Because we're in Gilbert, I want to talk to you all about Nick's connection to Gilbert, not just that he was brutally murdered here, but the happier pieces of his life in Gilbert. Nick's 2 children were actually born in Gilbert, Arizona at Mercy Gilbert Hospital. And one of the memories that I will cherish of Nick forever is being with him, with his mom, his mother-in-law, and his sister, as he holds up his first baby boy in the little viewing area at Mercy Gilbert where you could see the brand new babies. Having this big macho man that Justin just described that's, you know, out there camping and all of these things, working on his cars, but this big macho man with tears in his eyes being transformed into a father. That happened in Gilbert, Arizona. Nick was also a business owner in Gilbert, Arizona. He built Gilbert Air into a thriving business that provided jobs for people in Gilbert, that provided essential services. Living in the Valley of the Sun, we know that HVAC is a critical service, and one that he was the type of business owner that his clients knew they could call him at any time, day or night, weekends, holidays, and he would be there for them, making sure that their families were safe with adequate heating and cooling. It is for those reasons and his connection to Gilbert that it is so essential that both his family and the community of Gilbert get justice. Alicia, his widow, my cousin, deserves to feel safe, deserves for her children to feel safe. Nick's killers are on the loose in the community that we all live and enjoy. So our request is, alongside Gilbert Police Department, to support bringing those killers to justice. While I'm happy that the police chief was here today making a statement, reiterating what I know is the commitment from the brave women and men that serve Gilbert Police Department. Clearly, something has gone wrong here. It has been 5 years, and we still do not have justice. We still do not have peace of mind that the people that killed Nicholas Cordova are no longer a threat to the community of Gilbert. Thank you for your time.
thank you. Our next speaker is, I believe it's Sharissa Arnold. If you would please state your full name and the city you live in.
Carissa Arnold, Gilbert. Thank you for your time tonight, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight speaking in frustration with how my daughter's case has been handled. Back in July, both my daughter and I submitted requests to obtain the video footage regarding her interview, the interview of the guy who hurt her, and of all police reports and dispatch calls in the aftermath. When we received the sex crimes report, we were immediately frustrated. The report was dummied down to make it look like this was a one-time simple incident between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. The report left out information from an order of protection hearing. It was a text message in there in which he admitted to the fact that he had issues with stopping when he was told no. Nothing was included in the police report on that. It's a big deal. It was admitted in that hearing that they were getting in arguments after these situations were happening. None of that was included in the police report at all. No wonder why the county prosecutor dropped the charges against him. And we all know that he went on and assaulted other girls after he assaulted my daughter. When the sex crimes victims are treated this way, why would they ever want to come forward? It has been stated by your own former sex crimes sergeant that they are the undermost reported crimes across the board. But this doesn't give them any more of a backing to why they should ever come to their own police department. The vandalism that happened on the school property was another issue. The officer told us that it wouldn't do any good for her to come out and take fingerprints because we had previously touched the stuff that was vandalized. When it was put in the report, so we thought that this was the case. The SRO the next day said, no, you should have called the sergeant out because that officer was wrong. What was put in the report was that she did not come out was because we had touched the stuff, as though we had touched it in the aftermath. You go back and you listen to the body cam footage, and it will reveal the truth of what was stated to the officer during that phone call. As I've been trying to acquire the reports from my daughter's case, I've run into numerous situations where I've asked for searches by phone number, I've been told that can't happen, and then I got told it can happen. Attempts have been made to charge me for the reports, and I've had to fight for that to get corrected, which it eventually did. The latest has been the retention calls. In January, I asked what was going on because we've only received a couple of reports in regards to her case. And I was told that the dispatch calls are all gone. There's no way to go get them. So I was frustrated. I sent an email to Mr. Banger, and I sent an email to Assistant Chief Bisegli, to which I got told that there's a retention period, and I was given 3 different answers on what that retention period is. The latest retention period that I was given was a document that was 7 years old, stating it was only 60 days. So my question went back, and why wasn't I told this back in July of last year? So we're sitting at almost a year now since I filed the request, okay? I filed a FOIA request for information on when those changes were going to be made. It was denied by Assistant Chief Bisegli. I was told that I was not going to get any more information, which was a violation of rights. That was not any sort of critical information surrounding the police department, and he denied it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Linda Taylor.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm kind of a little nervous. I'm a board member of the Gilbert Visual Art League, Linda Taylor, and I live here in Gilbert. And you might say that I'm a reporter for Gilbertville Visual Art League because I'm the editor of the newsletter, which has over 400 subscribers. Each of you are cordially invited to our juried art show of over 100 pieces of art created by local artists on Sunday, the 30th, from 2 to 4 p.m. I have special invites for you that someone over there can give to you later, so you won't forget, okay? It's Sunday. I'm coming here tonight requesting your help. We would like to be a bigger part of the town of Gilbert. We would like to be a permanent part of the, I'm sorry, I'm standing too close, of the town's website. How do we do that? We would like notifications of events where we can take part and get more recognition. How do we do that? We need a larger place to have our art shows, which we have twice a year. A member show in the fall, and the current juried art show. The gallery we are using is too small. It's at HD South. We have to limit our art pieces due to the capacity. Our receptions are crowded, and it is hard to hear when the awards are being given. You know, this sounds so trivial after everything I've heard tonight, but we do want you to know about us. We don't generate the revenue to rent a building, so we need a town of Gilbert location that would be very low rent. Will you help us? We would like the town's monetary support by purchasing pieces of art from local artists to be displayed on the Civic Center walls, and or to make monetary donations for awards to these local artists at our juried art show, like the Town of Gilbert Recognition Award. That could be a great article for the town newspaper. You know, with a population of over 250,000 people, it is important to support the visual arts too, and it's not being done right now. So let me tell you about us. We have been in existence since 2003. We are a 501c3 entity since 2006. We are a nonprofit, and we support HD South, and we attend the gala every year. We are the only art league in Gilbert and the only art group that supports the town of Gilbert. We have a membership of over 75 people. I'm going to hurry because you've got me down here, so here we go. We have the House of Refuge, which services children. We are Verena Independent Living, which is teaching seniors. We are HD South for all ages. We are Clarendale Assisted Living, teaching seniors. We are Cooley Middle School, reaching out and helping with the teaching of art in that school. And we support Higley High School Art Festival, which is a one-time event. I have sent each of you an email, what I just told you tonight, so that you can recall all the things that I have said. We solicit your patronage of Gilbert Visual Arts League and ask for you to begin tonight by verbalizing that you will look into our needs. We count on you? Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Our next speaker is Steve Lavelle.
All right, Mayor, Council, I'm Steve Lavelle, and I sent you guys an email tonight before we came, kind of breaking down. I would really like to talk about the Volterra, which is your electric fire truck. So a report came out about the Volterra. I believe it might have went to you guys. That's the wrong report. There it is. And it talked about, let's see, this thing is titled the Gilbert Fire and Rescue Volterra Year 1 Report. Now, this is a pilot program. And I believe your fire chief, Rob Duggan, and Corey Gerard are going to come to you, and they're going to want you to purchase 3 of these trucks. And you really, really need to dive into the information they're providing you, because it's not accurate. They're not being forthright with the vehicle itself and its reliability, number one, which is the most important thing, because reliability means that the truck can't respond on a call. So they did talk about reliability in this report, and they actually do say that the reliability of the Volterra is 76%, which is the lowest of the trucks they're comparing it to. What they don't tell us is how old the other trucks are. And of course, all the other trucks, by the way, run Detroit diesel engines. That's just the way a fire truck runs, just so you know what we're talking about here. I believe it's a little political for them because they want to, be the first fire department with a bunch of electric trucks. But that reliability part, I'll hit a little bit more on a little bit deeper here at the end. But they do admit right there at the beginning that it's not very reliable. They talk about call volume, which is good. Then we get into the consumption part. They talk about the electricity consumption. They talk about repair and maintenance of the vehicles. They talk about fuel consumption. So I put together a spreadsheet that I sent all you guys about all that. So just so at the very end of this report, they talk about the analysis about the Volterra and how its energy consumption is lower than a diesel energy consumption. I'll talk about those numbers here in a minute. But the big thing here in this analysis, they talk about pros. And they say no diesel emissions. Kind of true, not kind of true. It does have a little bit of a diesel engine in it when you learn about the Volterra. Quieter operations, probably too. Cooler operations. They kind of highlight those 3 things, but they don't highlight this. Cons, increased cost at $1.1 million per truck. That's on top. That's 1.1 more than if you were just to buy an engine with a diesel in it. Okay, $1.1 million more. I think you raised my taxes 5 times last year. And now you want to pay $1.1 million more because the truck runs on electricity? They put it in there. They don't know about the infrastructure cost and maintenance, which are not part of these numbers I'm talking about. Well, I'm getting close on time here. Anyway, the battery life replacement, they don't know about. Long-term durability, they don't know about. Replacement cost. I basically did the numbers for you. If you look at the repair and maintenance savings, they say $21,756 high end for a year. Fuel savings, $1,602 per year, okay? If you take that monthly energy consumption, the difference was $434, you tie that into the fuel savings, that comes to your $1,602. You add all that stuff up together. Basically, the total annual savings, and it's in the report I sent you guys, total annual savings is $26,964 a year if we go with that electric truck. At $1.1 million a year, Well, you get that return on investment in about 41 years. That's the best end numbers of those. Real quick, and I'll let you go, I just want to pull this last part up because I think it's very important that I talk about this, okay? The EMI VT system in that truck is not proven. It has not been compared, it's not been paired with the Cummins and the Picard motors. That's the problem with it. It has to have redundancy built into the system, but the redundancy is what keeps breaking. So when that electricity in that truck goes down, right, the motor, the backup motor can't run either. And they tell you that that truck's reliable. I tell you this, and I'll leave you with this. That truck, at least 4 times when responding to a call, broke down and could not respond. And they had to have another truck. They had to call alarm and cover for that truck. 4 times. I think that might have happened one time in my 20-plus year career here running a diesel engine. And if that one call is, I don't know, say a kid drowning, and that truck can't make it, is it worth it? I think you really need to dive into this. I have a lot more information on this. I sent you all emails. If anybody would like to talk to me in detail about this, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you. I have a lot more information where this came from. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our next speaker, we have Robert Bachhuber is donating his time to Rayanne Wood. So Rayanne, it's your turn. And you will have 6 minutes.
Mayor and council members, I'm Rayanne Wood, Gilbert, Arizona resident. I'm here to talk about College Park Country Estates once again. First, I would like to talk about the covenant letter that was sent out to a few property owners a few months ago. Under section letter B, quote, Gilbert owns, operates, and maintains public streets, roads, highways, alleys, rights-of-way, public utility easements within the boundaries of the town of Gilbert, including the 60 feet wide street known as North Riata Street and the 50 street wide street known as Country Plaza. Bullet point number 2, non-removal of the trees. Quote, provided that owner property maintains the trees pursuant of section 1, Gilbert agrees that it will not remove the trees except in the instances where they pose an immediate hazard to the health and safety of the public. In the event that the trees pose an immediate hazard to the health and safety of the public, Gilbert will remove the trees. So let me recap those 2 paragraphs. Gilbert owns and maintains the public right-of-way on Riata and Country Plaza. The trees are not currently a hazard because you're willing to turn them over to the property owners, and if they become a hazard, Gilbert will remove the trees. So, is it a hazard or not? It seems odd to me that at town council meeting, the town staff, town council, and the previous mayor all stated how these trees are a hazard. Once again, you all are not telling the truth. You are talking out both sides of your mouths. You're presenting only the information that benefits your point of view. Next, I'd like to address the communication that was recently posted on the College Park Country Estates website section. Interesting that this is the first actual item that had been posted. Paragraph number 1, quote, town records indicate that in 1998, the town replaced some trees on the right-of-way and assumed maintenance of all these trees in the right-of-way in the neighborhood. As a result, the town maintained approximately 40 trees in the right-of-way of College Park Country Estates for nearly 30 years at no cost to the residents. Even though the town has been maintaining these trees, it is not legally or contractually required. I'd like to recap and or have questions for that paragraph. Why does the town staff and the lawyer not mention the approved plat and the easement agreement? Nowhere are those mentioned. The covenant letter stated that you owned the property and the 60 feet on Riata Street and the 50 feet on Country Plaza. The easement agreement also states that you bought the land and that you must maintain it and be responsible for the damages. Our approved plat has no mention of abutting property owners being responsible. This community has no HOA or PKID, and neither are mentioned on the approved plat. Paragraph number 2, quote, College Park Country Estates was developed prior to the Land Development Code. It's glad that you have acknowledged that. It's, however, quote, not exempt or grandfathered in. My questions and comments. How can town staff pick and choose what codes they want to change or they want to enforce? How can you not acknowledge the agreement on an approved plat? How can you ignore the assessment agreement? How can staff pick and choose what parts of a code they want to try to enforce? How can you not hold every community and business accountable to the same codes? And finally, the code states new subdivisions, all new subdivisions. We are not a new subdivision. Paragraph number 3, quote, aside from a limited locations in the Heritage District, glad to see that you acknowledge that the Heritage District does have landscaping and maintenance. College Park Country Estates is the sole remaining neighborhood in which the town maintains landscape in the right-of-way along internal resident streets and where it has not enforced the LDC code, the Land Development Code. Per records requests at the last town council meeting, I presented several other neighborhoods that were identified as having maintenance completed by the town. So what is the real truth? Paragraph number 6, quote, the town has determined that the 8 red gum eucalyptus trees in College Park Country Estates neighborhood must be removed due to safety concerns. So here we go again. Town says it's a safety concern and they should be removed. However, previously in the covenant letter, it says, if they become a hazard or a safety issue, to the public, they will be removed. You're contradicting yourself over and over again. So which one is it? You all keep talking out both sides of your mouth. Are they a safety concern or not? Or is it a cost and liability issue? Or is it a code issue? Do you even know which one it is? I have been respectful and tried to respect your positions within the town of Gilbert. However, you all are not truthful. You've lied. You presented half of the information. You omit information. You spin the information to your own agenda. All this is for one of the oldest neighborhoods in Gilbert. You have no respect for our neighborhood, and I have no respect for you. And I mostly have no respect for your decisions when you only have half of the information. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. So our next speaker, Allison H., where are you? Are you still here? You're donating your time, okay, to Brandon Wood. Okay. And you will have 6 minutes, and if you'll state your full name and the city you live in, please.
Mayor and council members, my name is Brendan Wood. I'm a resident of Gilbert, Arizona. I stand before you once again, not just as a resident, but as a voice for my neighborhood. A neighborhood that is being unfairly targeted by the very government that should be protecting it. This isn't just about trees, it's about fairness, honesty, and the town's responsibility to uphold its own code and commitments. The Land Development Code being used to justify the removal of our landscaping explicitly states that it applies to new subdivisions. The town itself admits this code was adopted in 1982, and our plat was approved by the town 10 years prior. How can you apply a regulation that didn't exist when our neighborhood was built? This is arbitrary enforcement at best and a gross overreach at worst. Even if you do enforce the land development code, let's be clear, it requires trees in the rights of way. Land Development Code, Section 5.4.4D, subsection 4, mandates a 10-foot landscape area along collector and local streets, with trees planted at 1 per 30 feet of frontage. If the town is upholding the code, why isn't it following its own tree planting requirement? You're going to remove our trees but not plant new ones. The code says you have to have trees there. Additionally, where in the Land Development Code does it exempt the Heritage District from right-of-way landscape maintenance? Nowhere. I've read it 1,000 times. Yet the town is still selectively enforcing this code against our neighborhood while ignoring it elsewhere. This is not equal application of the law. The town's proposed covenant for ongoing landscape maintenance states that the trees will not be removed unless they pose an immediate hazard. I've already came in here time again stating the arborist report commissioned by the town determined the trees to be low risk. Why are they being removed? Why does the town's own documents contradict its actions? Councilmember Torgerson, you stated our subdivision is the only one with red gum trees. That's not true. There's town parks, and along the SRP trail, there's red gum eucalyptus trees. This is a photo I took. You can see the plaque right here at the bottom, Town of Gilbert. This is a red gum. This is a red gum tree, a town-owned park. Here's another red gum tree at a town-owned park. Here's another one. You guys saying these trees are dangerous, they're all over the town. Here's another one on SRP Trail. I got all this information from a public records request. You were emailing my neighbor Joel, he said we're the only place in the town that these trees exist. That's not true. Worse yet, you are allowing town staff to bulldoze the situation, both figuratively and literally. They are forcing this outcome with no transparency, no real dialogue, and no accountability. The destruction of our neighborhood directly contradicts the goals set forth in the Shade and Streetscape Master Plan, a plan in which our neighborhood is featured. I know I've showed you guys this before. Our neighborhood is featured in the Shade and Streetscape Master Plan, and you want to remove 25% of the trees right off the bat. How can you promote the value of shade and urban forestry while allowing this destruction in a community that embodies the very principles we're talking about in this plan? Councilmember Torgerson, after sitting through numerous meetings, I've heard you say more than once that council members make mistakes. Well, Mr. Torgerson, I think this council is making a mistake that will not be forgotten by those of us who live in this community, a mistake that will permanently alter the character and value of our neighborhood, a mistake that will call into question the integrity of this council's decisions for years to come. And in case staff did not inform you, these trees have already been marked for removal. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about the history of these trees. They were planted in 1975 when Gilbert's population was only about 3,000. Today, Gilbert has 275,411 residents. These trees have been here longer than 99% of the people who now call this town home. They have stood through decades of growth, long before most of us got here, and yet now, when shade and mature trees are more valuable than ever, the town is rushing to remove them. I urge you, before this mistake becomes irreversible, to stop this unnecessary destruction and honor the promises made to our community. The residents of this town deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Sarah Brennan. Are you, okay, and you're donating your time to Teresa Cordova. And Teresa, if you would state your full name and the city you live in, and you will have 6 minutes.
Thank you. Council members and Mayor Anderson. Name is Teresa Cordova. I currently reside in Santan Valley. I'm a native of Arizona. I'm here to speak on the behalf of my son, Nick Cordova, who was brutally murdered May 27th, 2020, here in Gilbert. It has been 5 years since he was murdered, and Gilbert PD has failed to bring forth the persons responsible. The system has failed Nick, failed me, and failed his family and friends. With all due respect to Gilbert PD showing up today and making a statement, words are just words we've heard for the last 5 years. I am a mother grieving the unimaginable loss of a child. A loss that's shattered my world and left a void that can never be filled. His mama-son bear hugs that I will never feel again. His smile of joy that I will never see again. He was a man of faith. His family was his world. In the wake of this tragedy, I placed my faith in the justice system, believing that those responsible would be held accountable. I trusted that the truth would be pursued and my child's life would be honored. But instead, I've been met with the silence, neglect, and excuses that deepen my grief and erode my hope. For every day that passes without answers, without action, without accountability, my pain grows heavier. My child deserves justice, and my family deserves closure. We are not just statistics or case files. We are human beings with hearts that break, dreams that were taken away, and memories we hold dear. Today, I stand before you to demand justice, accountability, and change. My son's life, Nick, matters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be, we have Rosanna, is it Garcia? And are you still here? Okay. And you're donating your time. I'm sorry, I can't read your first name. I apologize. Your last name is Cordova. So if you would state your full name and the city you live in, please.
My name is Alicia Cordova, and I live in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Thank you. And you have 6 minutes.
In Gilbert, Arizona, on May 27th of 2020, my husband, Nick Cordova, was brutally shot and killed while at work, while on FaceTime with our children. At the time, Cruz was 8 and Capri was 5. I'm here speaking tonight, not just as a grieving widow, but as a voice for my husband, who no longer has one, for our children, our family, our friends, and for everyone who has suffered because of this injustice. My husband was taken from us in a tragic and senseless act, and yet the very institution meant to serve and protect him and us has failed to do so. From the moment that I lost Nick, I trusted that the Gilbert Police Department would do right by us. I was confident that the detectives on the case, mind you, we're on our 4th detective now, would fight for the truth. I believed in them, their commitment, and the promises they made to get justice for my husband. The negative experience I have had over the years has just proved how uninvested they are. The lack of care, communication, and urgency is unacceptable, and it has shaken my faith in the system. Days have turned into weeks, weeks have turned into months, months into years, and 4.5 years later, still, I have been left in the dark. There have been nothing but broken promises, calls left unreturned, interviews never conducted, follow-ups pushed aside, evidence left unchecked. The longer Gilbert PD takes, the further away justice slips. It is another day that my husband's life is treated as another murder case that they deem too complicated or too inconvenient to solve instead of the tragedy that it truly is. This isn't just a murder case, this is about a person. It's about Nick Cordova, my husband and the father of my children. The man who I was with for 17 years. My heart, my rock, and my future. Just robbed of all of that. His death didn't just take him away from me and his children. It truly rocked our entire family. It ripped away the life that we had built together, leaving behind nothing but grief, anger, emptiness, and an endless amount of questions. I have to wake up every day with a pain that's never going to fade, a hole that will never be filled. Every holiday, every milestone, every ordinary moment that once brought joy is now a reminder of all that was stolen from us. The weight of this loss is unbearable, and yet the men responsible for murdering Nick still walk free while my family has to struggle to pick up the broken pieces of our lives, and it's just not fair. So I'm here today to say to the mayor and the members of the council who sit before me as respectfully as I possibly can, no more. No more delays, no more excuses, no more unanswered questions. You guys oversee the Gilbert Police Department. It is your responsibility to make sure that they do their jobs, that they investigate, that they pursue the truth, and they're not doing that. They have proved their incompetence to do so. With that said, I urge you to intervene and have an internal investigation done on Nick's case. Not only so he can receive justice that he deserves, but also to restore the trust of this community in law enforcement. Until that happens, and until the men are responsible for murdering my husband are held accountable, I will not stop speaking and I will not stop fighting. I will carry my husband's memory forward, demanding the justice that should have been ours from the very beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, that concludes our citizens' comments, and I will turn this back over to the mayor.
Thank you. Patrick, did you make some notes on some of those? We could, specifically with Ms. Taylor, and have a staff person meet with her from the Arts League. Thank you. Future meetings, we have a study session proposed on traffic accident data coming up. From communications, report from the town manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the town council. Got if we could advance to the next slide. So going forward, I wanted to talk about some changes and a new approach I'll take to the manager's update and some of the information that we'll cover. At our council meetings, I'm going just to start highlighting our various, do we want to give a second, let everybody clear out? Okay, thank you. Okay, so going forward, I'm going to start providing some additional levels of information during manager's update. One of the things I'm going to do is each meeting I will highlight a different department and division and the work they provide to this community, any special recognitions, certifications, accreditations they have, but start highlighting the great work being done by our men and women in our various lines of service in service to our community that are such a foundational piece of the quality of life that we enjoy in our community. I will continue to highlight retirements, recognitions, and awards for various staff members that we have. Talk about organizational accomplishments and certifications and recognition we receive. Also, I'll take some of our dashboard metrics that we are continuing to finalize and finish up. We've got a bunch more that'll be published soon, but highlight some of our dashboard metrics and highlight how we're doing in various areas of importance to our community. And also use it as an opportunity to talk about our capital project status and milestone updates. We've got a number of those projects in various stages of planning, programming, design, construction, and I'll use this time to also keep you abreast of those various projects and where they stand. With that, we'll move forward. I want to highlight the Aspire Academy that was hosted by GPD and GFRD in partnership with neighboring public safety departments on March 13th through 16th. We had a number of individuals participate in that academy, and our fire chief can go into more detail if you'd like, but it was just a wonderful time and a great opportunity for our youth to learn more about what it's like to serve in Gilbert Fire and Rescue and police departments. The next slide. Our Sensory Awareness Family Event Public Safety Day is this Saturday, March 29th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That'll be at the Public Safety Training Facility here in town. The event gives Gilbert members of the special needs and autism communities the opportunity to interact with firefighters and police officers in a safe setting. Activities include the chance to take a ride along in a fire truck, experience a police traffic stop, and see police and fire gear up close. We'll have local resources. We'll also be on site for Gilbert residents and families with autism and special needs. Go to the next slide. I want to congratulate Eva Kutro, who will be retiring in the very near future. She's been a longtime member of our planning department as the planning manager and done a great job for us. So we're sad to see Eva go, but wish her the best with her retirement. The next slide. And then we want to recognize Dan Henderson, our Director of Economic Development. He was honored with the Jeffrey A. Finkel Organizational Leadership Award for the great work he has done for the town of Gilbert, which we all see the benefits of with each passing month as this community continues to build out. Congratulations, Dan. We were also just recognized as one of the top 5 cities for first-time homebuyers. Good Morning America featured consumer affairs research recognizing the top cities for first-time homebuyers, with Gilbert, Arizona coming in at number 5, and ABC's Rebecca Jarvis also acknowledged Gilbert as Phoenix's coolest suburb. And with that, that's all I have for the update tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Report from the council. I know Councilmember Lyons has something.
Thank you, Mayor. In Gilbert, we proudly honor those who have served our country through the Military Tribute Banner Program. There's still time to recognize a loved one with a tribute banner. It'll be displayed in the Heritage District for Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Veterans Day. Each banner is $130 and features the honoree's photo, service branch, rank, service dates, family name, and more. After being proudly displayed, the banner will be yours to keep as a meaningful keepsake. I wanted to highlight that the deadline is next Monday, March 31st. So if you want to do this, please get with us, and I would encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bongiovanni.
Sorry, I'm having an allergy attack over here. Okay, things going on in Parks and Recs. Gilbert Global Village Festival. Festival will be held on Saturday, April 5th, on the Gilbert Civic Center lawn from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The festival is free multicultural celebration for all ages. Gilbert is focused on creating a safe and respectful environment where authentic connections thrive. Opinions are equally valued, alliance is encouraged, and differences are shared and celebrated. Glow Up Gilbert. Join us for an unforgettable night of music, games, and glowing fun at the Mesquite Aquatic Center on Saturday, April 5th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. This exclusive event is just for high schoolers. So grab your friends and get ready to light up the night. Plus, enjoy free food while you party.
That's it. Thank you. Any other reports? Councilmember Kaprowski.
Just a quick update that the Gilbert Symphony Orchestra's final program of the season is Monday evening, 7 p.m. at the Hagley Center for Performing Arts, and it will be classical music from classic cartoons.
Thank you. Any other reports? Report from the mayor. I only have a couple of items. One is tomorrow night. Gilbert is the place to be on the red carpet. So I look forward to seeing anyone who is going to be attending the State of the Town tomorrow night. Look forward to being there with you and other members of our community. So starting tomorrow night at 6, doors open at 6 o'clock, and I think the actual program begins, I think it's 6:30 or 6:40, 6:30, I believe. The only other thing is we want to wish a post-celebration, I guess, birthday celebration for Councilmember Koprowski and Vice Mayor Buckley. Happy birthday. You both had birthdays this month.
Thank you, yes. Hers was the 13th and mine was the 14th.
Oh, well, thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Been moved. We are adjourned.